The changing of the guard in Ottawa is not restricted to Parliament Hill. It happens in football, too. Gone is longtime quarterback J.C. Watts, who joined the Riders in '81 and as a rookie took them all the way to the Grey Cup game. But the Riders have not been that far since, Watts given his unconditional release. Signed on is USFL veteran Todd Dillon, though he will only play a series or two tonight. According to the head man Joe Moss, enough to get his feet wet, but not enough to drown. The man on the hot seat is number 16, Tom Burgess, the rookie from Colgate, making his third consecutive start for the Riders. He has completed 49% of his passes, and tonight offers him a unique opportunity.
In some ways, I think I'm in a little bit of a hot seat with JC gone, and they brought in a guy from the USFL, Todd Dillon, and I think they brought him in with the ideas of making him the starter, and during this transition, I think I got the chance to the opportunity to become the starter, and I just got to show everybody pretty early that I can do the job, and I'm looking forward to it.
A big performance from Burgess would help the Riders' cause. After winning their first two games of '86, they've lost their last four and trail Eastern, leading Toronto by 4 points. But not having played last week, they will be well rested, and they will need that energy tonight as they take on the defending Grey Cup champions, the BC Lions. Live from Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, this is CTV's Friday Night Football. Saturday, the BC Lions were in Regina. The man who made the difference was Darnell Clash. He returned punts for over 200 yards, 66 right here late in the fourth quarter. He goes all the way. With Darnell Clash, the punt return has become the BC Lions' most potent weapon.
My success with punt returns has been because of our last 4 games of outstanding coverage, and also my teammates doing an outstanding job, blocking for me. It's been really going well for us. And tonight's game would be a really difficult game because of the wind and how they punt the ball to me. And if not, I just got to do as I can and go from there. But I hope tonight they take the ball to me and the wind won't be a big factor in tonight's game.
In the last 4 games, Clash has returned punts for over 100 yards. All were Lion wins. At 6-1, their record is tops in the CFL. They have a 4-point lead on anyone else in the Western Conference. Tonight, they'll be looking for their 5th consecutive win, while the Rough Riders will try to snap their losing streak. They meet in the nation's capital. It is mild here this evening, but overcast and windy, and while a storm warning has been canceled, the forecast calls for rain. Hello again, everybody. I'm Dan Matheson. Certainly, Burgess and Clash will be in the spotlight tonight, but what kind of success they have will be determined to some degree by how they are defensed. For example, Ottawa punter Ken Clark is a wily old veteran. He just may give up some distance on his punts tonight to keep the ball away from Clash, angling it towards the sidelines, maybe kicking it right out of bounds. On the other hand, Burgess is a rookie quarterback. He's a youngster. The BC Lions have an attacking style defense. They will turn up the heat in the pass rush, and with the blitzing, they want to make his night just as miserable as they possibly can. For more on tonight's game, let's go upstairs. Pat Marsden and Leif Pedersen.
Thank you, Dan. Hello again, everybody. You know, when you come to a park and one club has won 6 games, as the BC Lions have, and the other has won 2, like the Ottawa Rough Riders have, you would think this would be a mismatch. I'm not sure that it's going to turn out that way.
Well, you know, there's no question the BC Lions are a favorite tonight, but, you know, you and I have been around long enough to know that when you predict a game to be a mismatch, you usually end up with a pretty good one in, and I might add that Ottawa can play pretty tough at home.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that, and I think there's another very valid reason. This club in Ottawa is under the gun right now. I mean, Burgess has an opportunity to become the first-string quarterback. If he doesn't do the job tonight, he's not going to be. Greg Marshall, one of their great defensive players of the last 7 or 8 years, his job is on the line.
Well, it really is. I don't think they were going to play him in their initial plans this week, but then they decided to because I think they need a little more experience. They've got so many young guys on this team, and a guy like Greg Marshall has been around for so long. He kind of stabilizes the team, and Joe Moss, I'm sure, is expecting that from him tonight.
Well, those are our thoughts. Let's go down and join Dan.
Thank you, Pat. As Darnell Clash told us a little earlier, it is windy. It is not constant, however. It is gusting, and certainly if the rain does come, the elements will become a factor tonight. The opening kickoff in just a moment. You are watching CTV's Friday Night Football.
Old stock real beer taste is coming at you. Premium quality, fully matured. So get moving to that real beer taste.
Introducing the all-new front-drive Chevy Nova.
It's absolutely right.
Look at the style.
It's right all along.
The drive.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land. True patriot love in all thy sons' command. Quattro braccia porte le peghe, i se porte la croix. Dans l'histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on God for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on God for thee.
There's a look at tonight's officials. They will be headed by referee Ross Perrier. And the others will be working with them: Brian McKee, Ross Saunders, Ron Artell, Bob Sugden, and Alan McColeman. Crowd of somewhere, I would think, in the 24 to 25,000 range. The Rough Riders really had a surge of interest, strangely enough, when they cut J.C. Watts. It was weird. And I'll tell you what's a little strange right now. The BC Lions, as it is their prerogative, will kick off. You would think with the kind of return people that they have, that they might be interested in getting their hands on the ball, but the wind is going to be a factor here tonight, and they are going to kick off to Ottawa and hopefully put them in a hole.
Well, when you've got such a good defense as the BC Lions do, I think it's a pretty good move. They've been very pleased with Jan Karinsky's kicking off this year, felt that that's really helped their ball club.
And he puts this one deep to Reggie Butts at his 5-yard line. Well, Butts did a very good job. He got it back very close to the 35, so that's a good return for the Ottawa Rough Riders, as Karinsky, who kicked off, was down to make the stop. Here's the way the Ottawa Rough Riders will start tonight. Tom Burgess will be at quarterback, completing 49% of his passes. He has to play well tonight to keep that job. Lester Brown and Jim Reed. Lester was supposed to be cut earlier in the season. He's probably been their best ball player.
Well, a receiving core, not a big group, 5'9", the tallest guy amongst those 4 receivers, but pretty quick.
Burgess fires very quickly, and that's a good way to lose football games and lose quarterbacks, because the newcomer to that offensive set, Florindo Grilli from McMaster University, was hit right in the hands with the ball, and he dropped it.
Pretty good offensive group there. Offensive line coach Bob Swift's done a pretty good job with these guys. They've only given up 17 sacks on the year, which ranks second in the league, so they've been pretty successful.
Well, the Rough Riders have absolutely no gain on the play, as Lester Brown was bottled up the moment that he got his hands on the football.
Yeah, they'll be called for a legal procedure, too. Florindo Grilli, number 26, jumped offside a little bit, and 2 bad plays in a row for the youngster.
Yeah, it's too bad, and you've got to know that he's a little bit uptight. This is his first starting assignment. Very unusual name. He was actually born in Italy, though, I believe.
I bet you the heart rate's about 160 when he's in there on his first series.
I'll tell you, the heart rate is going to jump to 160 for Joe Moss right now. because this is the man that has just put the fear of the Lord into every head coach in the league. And, of course, I'm speaking of Darnell Clash, who stands back at his 25-yard line to accept this punt from Ken Clark.
Well, Kenny's on the left hash mark, which is much easier for a right-footed kicker to get it out of bounds. We'll see. Well, he goes the opposite way. What do I know?
They want to make Clash run for the ball, but he gets over there very quickly at the 30. The Ottawa Rough Riders, Lamont Meacham, won't know if he's in Ottawa, Vancouver, or Rimouski because he was just completely eliminated by Keith Gooch on one of the outstanding blocks you'll ever see. Let's watch it.
Well, these
Gooch
guys,
is 18, by the way.
Yeah, these guys work so hard to get Darnell Clash free. A good block by Scott Leckie, number 34, and Mike Hudson. There you saw the great block by Keith Gooch. And, you know, when you've got a punt returner of Darnell Clash's abilities, the blocking guys seem to work just that much harder.
Unbelievable 14-yard return when it looked like he was going to lose about 7 or 8. He took the ball at the 30, retreated inside his 25-yard line, and ends up back at the 43.
You know, it's funny, in the press conference yesterday, someone asked Don Matthews if his helping the special teams was a direct result in the really good play that they've had, and he said, no, the players are just doing it themselves. But anytime the head coach is involved directly with coaching, I think the guys give a little bit extra.
So the BC Lions, with their first offensive series of the ball game, begin at their 44-yard line. And on the draw play, this is Keevan Jenkins. And he's upended at the 25-yard line. Just when it looked as though it was going to open up a little bit for him, he was decked.
Well, I don't know who made the hit, but I thought the referee was in there pretty good and got the forearm up. Keevan back in the lineup. Ray Krause, of course, played last week. John Henry White, how about him? Last week, his first 100-yard rushing game in his 9-year career. Wow, the receiving corps, not a weak link there at all.
And can you believe it? They don't have the best receiver in all of football, for my money, Mervyn Fernandez, in the lineup, and they're still just so outstanding. It's second down and 7 yards to go. DeWalt had time, looks over the middle, finds John Henry White, and John Henry dances his way out over midfield and will have the first down. Rick Sovieta was there to make the stop, the 10-year veteran from Richmond University, who, of course, is a Canadian. The offensive line of the BC Lions is anchored by 15-year veteran center Al Wilson.
Well, that is an excellent group, and, of course, they give Roy DeWalt all the protection he needs. We mentioned Greg Marshall in the lineup tonight, and they need a big game out of him. They need a big game out of that entire front four.
Keevan Jenkins is cut down after a pickup of about a yard. James Curry and Rick Sovieta were both there to bring him down. So it'll be second down and, well, the better part of 8 yards to go.
Yeah, Steve Harrison, sorry, Pat, 4-year veteran from the University of British Columbia, getting a chance to start now at that outside linebacking spot. He was a member of that great 1982 Vanier Cup team that they had. Teammate Peter Vandenbos was also on that team.
Ball is at the Ottawa 52-yard line. We're scoreless. DeWalt has the first down inside the Ottawa 35-yard line, and when he would do that in the past, when Roy DeWalt was a young quarterback with the BC Lions, and when he would take off, it made him one of the great threats in the league, and I'm glad to see that he's doing it tonight. The pickup is 19 yards.
Well, he does it because of the good coverage downfield. His offensive line gave him plenty of time to throw, but linebackers deep drop. Roy saw an opening, and 19 yards later, he's got a nice first down, and the Lions are on the move.
At the Ottawa 33-yard line, and from the shotgun formation again, DeWalt. Fires it into the middle. He was looking for Jan Carinci, but Al Washington was there. The ball was behind Carinci. He had very little chance to make the catch and had absolutely none after contact was made by Washington.
Boy, I really think that's a smart move, going to that shotgun formation for a quarterback like Roy DeWalt. You know, he just gets a little extra time to look at the defense and see a quick change if he has to. You know, he doesn't have to drop back as quickly, and boy, a guy like him should really be able to take advantage of that.
That offensive line of the Lions, by the way, averages 9 years experience, 6'4", 270. We're talking about average. Flag is down, and so is DeWalt back at the 43-yard line. So Ottawa will, in all likelihood, decline what looks to be a holding penalty. Well, there's the sign by referee Ross Carrier, holding the call, declined by Ottawa.
Yeah, they're just far enough out, so Lou Pasaglia, I'm sure, will have to punt, but pretty good pressure that time. Number 76, Lloyd Lewis, up the middle, puts the initial grab on Roy DeWalt, and a few of the others finish him off, but they've got to have that tonight, some pressure from that front four. You know, coming in, they've had 25 quarterback sacks. That's 4th in the league, but they really have to have a big game there tonight.
Pasaglia's field goal try is good from 50 yards out. There is a penalty marker down on the field. We'll find out about it when we come back. Tentatively, the score is the BC Lions 3, the Ottawa Rough Riders nothing. By Joe Moss's face, but his Ottawa Rough Riders are still involved in a scoreless ball game because the penalty was against the BC Lions. Illegal procedure was the call. They have moved the ball back to the Ottawa 48-yard line, and Louis Pasaglia, in all probability this time, will punt. And that's the formation that he drops back into.
Boy, I thought he was going to punt the last time, but he hit that field goal from 50 yards. Little breeze behind him.
So on 3rd and 26 yards to go, Pasaglia puts it high, puts it deep, and it will go into the end zone, which will please the Ottawa Rough Riders, because now they'll get it out of the 35-yard line.
Yeah, Louie's not too happy with that. He kind of slapped his hands together because he really wanted to nail them deep in the hole, but just couldn't do it.
So the 68-yard punt goes for a single point, and the Lions jump out in front 1-0. But they moved the football well. Roy DeWalt did a good job of running it particularly.
Pat, the call on the procedure play was the official told Don Matthews number 91 was on the line, and Don says he's supposed to be on the line because we have an imbalanced line on our field goal attempts, and he had a little conflab with the officials here.
The give is inside to Mark Barousse, and Barousse, who has really performed well for the Rough Riders this year, he's caught 36 passes. Gets his way out to about the 43 for a pickup of 8 before the middle linebacker, Ty Cruz, number 91, was there to bring him down.
A slot back trap with Mark Barousse, and number 55, the left guard, Peter Vandenbos, just got an excellent block to spring him loose. Nailed Kevin Konar. Good run by Mark Barousse.
And he actually picked up 9, so make it 2nd and 1. This time, Lester Brown does get to the 45-yard line, which is where he had to pick up the first down before Larry Crawford was there to cut him down.
Well, this is the key for Tom Burgess tonight. You know, if he can find himself in 2nd and short situations, it'll certainly make his job a lot easier, but he's up against a pretty tough group. Glenn Jackson, Ty Cruz, Kevin Konar, an outstanding linebacking core, and, well, these 5 guys back there, they're as good a secondary as there is in the league.
Well, they brought the yardsticks out, and it is, in fact, the first down for the Ottawa Rough Riders on the carry by Lester Brown. 8 minutes and 55 seconds left to play in the opening quarter. The Lions are out in front 1-0. Tom Burgess, the rookie from Colgate University, with that number 1 job squarely his to win if he can tonight at the controls for Ottawa. Well, a little early movement, wouldn't you say? But there may have well been
illegal procedure. Ottawa number 55.
Peter Vandenbos, whom Leaf pointed out made such a good block on the previous play, was a little too anxious.
Well, you know, those linemen get a little edgy when they see the blitz coming. No question. They were bringing everybody on that play, and sometimes you're thinking so much about the blitz you forget what the snap count is. And, you know, that's interesting. Donnie Matthews said yesterday we tried to sit back and play a little more conservative defense at times, but he said we always got caught. We didn't play aggressively enough. So tonight we're going to go back. We're going to blitz. We're going to do everything and be as aggressive as we can.
Burgess going long, and it is picked off by the Lions. Nelson Martin with the interception off the deflection. Martin returns the ball to the BC 45-yard line.
Well, really, that was set up by number 1, the cornerback, Darnell Clash. He's going to cut right in front, of Mark Lewis. He goes up, makes the tip, but watch how alert number 4, Nelson Martin, is from his safety spot. He sees the tip. They work on this all the time, and it finally paid off. Made a nice fingertip catch.
The Lions lead it 1-0. We'll be back with their first down in a moment.
General Motors' spectacular summer seat sale is here. 6.8% financing on new Pontiac Acadians, Fieros, Chevy Chevettes, and Novas. 9.9% financing and special deals on other selected new GM cars and pickups. Hurry, seats are going fast. Seat sale on for limited time only.
Nelson Martin, who really drew raves from head coach Don Matthews at the press conference yesterday, he said, "We tried to get Martin to play himself off this football team, and he just wouldn't do it." In other words, they felt that they could improve that safety spot, but they have improved it because of the play of Nelson Martin. DeWalt fires down the middle, and at the very last moment, Jim Sandusky fell, and it may well have been tipped by Al Washington.
Yeah, Roy DeWalt, as he stepped up into the pocket as well, took a bit of a shot. Play action to try and hold Al Washington, but watch his drop. He's in the middle of your screen. He cuts over. I do believe he got a hand on. Yes, he did, and that's great range for the middle linebacker, Al Washington. 6-year pro, 4 years with the Ottawa Rough Riders, graduate from Ohio State.
DeWalt got hit just as he threw the football. This is Jan Carinci. And Jan does a heck of a job, crosses midfield into Ottawa territory, and has the first down.
Jan Carinci's really been a pleasant surprise for the BC Lions. They traded for him because they knew what potential he had to play every game as a starting receiver. Coming into tonight, 21 receptions, 1 big touchdown to win a ball game earlier in the year, but nice move there on number 38, Chris Ziegler, who's moved to that inside safety spot. Lamont Meacham is out of the lineup. Mike McIntyre is in.
On the draw, this is Kevan Jenkins, and he gets to the 50 for a pickup of a couple before Rick Sovieta, who has been a very active linebacker tonight, made the stop. You know, you were talking about Jan Carinci. A lot of people seem to forget that he comes from a major league type football program at the University of Maryland, and he was a starter there. So the guy has great football credentials.
Well, his problem was he just did too many things too well. Now they've let him just play one spot, and he's really done a great job.
DeWalt swings it out, and trying to get to the outside was Kevan Jenkins, but Sovieta wouldn't let him go, and he hauls him down short of the first down. Ricky Barton was in on the play as well.
Kevan Jenkins, a pretty good bet to pick up the first down in the open field, but he's going against one of the best, the number 25, Ricky Barton. One-on-one tackler, he's tough to beat.
Leith, you're mentioning the injury to Lamont Meacham. This juggled defensive backfield for Ottawa will continue at least to the half. Meacham has had his bell rather badly rung. No diagnosis yet, but they're going to look at him a little more closely at halftime. He will not be back until at least the third quarter.
Well, he took one of the scariest hits you can, that blindside shot on that punt return, and he really got nailed by Keith Gooch.
Lions are going to go on 3rd and a full yard. This is Kevan Jenkins. He's got the first down, and he very nearly had a touchdown, except for Treg Songi, number 36.
Well, BC's got such a huge offensive line, it's almost a foregone conclusion on 3rd and 1 that they won't make it. They go along the left side with John Blaine and Gerald Roper, but Kevan Jenkins made a great cutback. Watch the cut now. He sees a little crack. Al Washington overruns the play, and, you know, at the end here, if he'd flipped the ball to Jim Sandusky, he'd have gone all the way.
The pickup was 16 yards. It's first down BC at the Ottawa 28. DeWalt looking, finally dumps it off to Jenkins, but again, it was just slightly behind him, and I think Jenkins took his eyes off the ball to look upfield and dropped it. Now, this is an area where BC have had their problems. There's Lamont Meacham. As we had suggested, poor Lamont really doesn't know where he is right now.
Yeah, they picked him up on waivers from the Toronto Argonauts this year. Had played for them previously. Came to the league with Edmonton, went to Toronto, now with Ottawa. Got that long distance call.
Yeah. 2nd and 10. Over the middle. It is complete. This is Carinci, and he's inside the 10 to about the 8-yard line. Ricky Barden makes the tackle to bring him down. Pickup is 21 yards, however.
Well, we're going to have a great look at Jan Carinci here. Just taking on Chris Ziegler upfield, gets inside him with a good swim technique and come across. Nice pass. Now, this is Carinci's kind of football. Watch this. Just blast through everybody. Bodies flying everywhere. That's the kind of Jan Carinci football.
The winningest coach in CFL history from a percentage point of view, Don Matthews. DeWalt's pass is caught by John Pankratz inside the 5 at about the 4-yard line. It'll only be a pickup of about 3 yards.
Well, of course, on that play, you're just hoping that Pankratz can get the ball quickly and break a tackle and go in and score, but they really pick on the wrong guy, and Ricky Barden.
It's funny, you were saying that was Carinci's kind of football. It's Ricky Barden's kind of.
Oh, yeah, he loves that. Bodies flying every way, helmets cracking. Oh, those two love that kind of stuff.
DeWalt goes to the end zone for Ned Armour, but it's beyond his reach. This will be interesting here now. Donnie Matthews loves to gamble, but I've got to think that with 4 yards to go, he's got to kick the field goal. And I notice Bisaglia is coming out now.
Well, he had him open, but of course had to loop it over the head of Treg Songi, the cornerback, covering Ned Armour, and by that time he'd run out of real estate.
Hard to believe in this, the 8th game of the season for the BC Lions. Roy DeWalt has only thrown 6 touchdown passes. And Louis will try this one from the 10.5-yard line. It is good. So with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left to play in this opening quarter, the BC Lions have jumped out in front of Ottawa 4-0. We'll be back in a moment. Ball game, believe it or not, but the BC Lions have moved the ball at will up and down the field, yet they only have 4 points. So Ottawa's got to be pleased about that, as Lester Brown, 21, and Reggie Butts, 29, drop back to receive this kickoff from Jan Carinci. But the Lions, of course, are kind of a club that can strike you at any time. I mean, you could be punting on 3rd and 5, hemming them into the 5-yard line, and Darnell Clash will return at 80 yards.
Is that the truth? They don't have to have the ball offensively to score some points and make things happen.
Carinci with a good kickoff, not as deep as the previous one. Reggie Butts from the 16. And now the reverse to Mark Lewis. And the son of the Lincoln locomotive is out to the 39-yard line, which is where the Ottawa Rough Riders and quarterback Tom Burgess will put it into play. John Ulmer. Well, there's another name familiar to football fans. Ed Ulmer, who performed both in Ottawa and Winnipeg, is his dad. John makes the tackle on this play.
And he made a great play to make the tackle. He got fooled initially, but came and hustled all the way across the field and nailed Mark Lewis.
Oh, boy, it was a terrific pass. A fine catch by Reggie Butts, but the ball was right on the money the moment that Butts turned around.
Well, that's the thing about the run-and-shoot offense. It's strictly a timing-style offense. You ask your receivers to go to a spot, turn around, and hopefully the ball will be there. That time, a perfect strike. Keith Gooch with excellent coverage, but Burgess put it to the right spot, low and outside.
I don't think you can cover anybody any better than Keith Gooch did on that play, yet Ottawa picks up 12 yards. And on the draw, this is Jim Reed. Well, he is a real load. When he gets moving, you need 3 or 4 people to bring him down. Nelson Martin got some help, but not before Jim Reed had gained 20 yards.
Well, this may shock some people around the league, but that's Jim Reed's 17th carry of 1986, and that surpasses his whole total from last year. Nice job, 20 yards on the draw play.
And Ottawa, all of a sudden, is inside the BC 40-yard line with a first down. Burgess quickly to Lewis. Gets to the 35-yard line. He'll have a pickup of about 4, depending upon the placement of the ball. Darnell Clash was on him immediately. And although Lewis is a tricky little guy, you're looking at the Houdini of all people in the CFL and Darnell Clash.
Yeah, you know, he's got so much publicity this year on his punt returns, and people sometimes tend to forget that he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. In fact, all Canadian last year, 3 interceptions on the season so far, so the guy can do it all.
Pickup was closer to 5, so make it 2nd and 5, Ottawa. The pass is there to Barousse. He's got the first down, and he's inside the BC 25-yard line. Pickup of 9 yards. Melvin Bird finally wrapped them up, but the Ottawa Rough Riders are on the move under young Tom Burgess.
Well, he was their leading receiver coming into tonight's ball game with 36 catches, 5 touchdowns already in 1986. Makes a good catch and gets up for that first down. And boy, I've been impressed with the drive that Tom Burgess has put together. Excellent play selection, a draw, quick passes. He's really mixing things up.
And the fans have been very impressed as well. They're really pumped up. Well, Tom really had a problem deciding what he wanted to do. He wanted to throw the ball initially. Then he decided he thought he'd take off with it. And then all of a sudden, as though they came out of the turf, there were 2 huge BC Lions in front of him.
Yeah, one of them was big old number 91, Ty
right.
Cruz, 7 years from Kansas State, and you're not going to fool that fella too often.
No.
But
Tom
you know,
said, this is nuts. I mean,
yeah, hit the turf in a hurry, or I could get injured out here. But listen, the fans like it. Burgess knows he's on the spot tonight. You heard him already. They figure Dillon's going to eventually be the number 1 guy. He wants to prove them wrong.
On 2nd and 11, Burgess puts it there. The catch is made inside the 10-yard line. It'll be a first down for Mark Lewis, number 5. Lewis only had 15 receptions coming into this ball game. He's made 2 big ones here in the first quarter.
Yeah, and this is one area they'd really like to improve upon. Both wide receivers only had 15 catches each coming into this game, but that time, another good throw by Burgess. He's keeping that ball low and away. No chance for the defensive back to come in and break it up.
17 yards to gain. 1st and goal to go, Ottawa from the BC 9. Burgess has the ball batted down. Ty Cruz, the middle linebacker, got the big hands up there as the first quarter comes to an end with the British Columbia Lions out in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders 4-0. We'll return with the second quarter in a moment. Steve and I were just saying to ourselves what a good first quarter it had been. Now we start the second quarter. Ottawa at the BC 9-yard line. The pass is caught by Mark Barousse, but he's nailed at the 2-yard line by Ty Cruz. Melvin Bird and Tyrone Cruz got around there to the 2-yard line.
Well, that's a great job by number 91, Tyrone Cruz, coming all the way from his middle linebacking spot. And Mark Barousse is a speedy guy. That's just super defense.
Well, I know this is the thing that every head coach in football would do. They would go for the field goal. And not being a head coach and just being a fan, if I was playing the BC Lions, I might go for it here, only because I think when I have an opportunity to get a touchdown, you know, against these guys, I've got to have it.
I think in hindsight, though, really when you're playing against such a tough team, I'd put that ball into the end zone. I wouldn't take a chance of having my guy catch it and trying to run it in. You got to go into the end zone so you're assured of a touchdown if he makes the catch.
Dean Dorsey, who is truly one of the most consistent kickers in any football league, will try the field goal from the 9-yard line. And it is good. The Ottawa Rough Riders hit the scoreboard. They are right back in the football game. Not that they've ever been out of it, but now they trail the Lions by only a single point.
Well, that was a great drive, and of course Joe Moss has to be a little pleased. What he wasn't pleased about so far has been the play of his defense. There you see him talking to James Curry on the sidelines, and he needs pressure from that front 4. He needs a better job in the secondary, quite frankly. They've only had 8 interceptions this year, and those have come from 2 players, Lamont Meacham with 3, Chris Ziegler with 5.
Well, as you see the statistical story of that first quarter, I mean, that drive by the Ottawa Rough Riders was everything for them. 69 yards they drove the football, ending it up with a field goal by Dean Dorsey. But as you see, they only gained 74. So prior to that drive, they had only 5 yards. BC really should be out in front by a lot more than a point.
we don't want to beat this one to death, but really it's so true. When teams get good production on first down, there's no question they can be successful offensively. On that particular drive, Ottawa got great production on their first down plays, and it makes life a lot easier.
So Dorsey will kick it off to either Keevan Jenkins or Melvin Bird. And it bounces to Bird at the 15. And he's dropped as he gets to the 37-yard line. Now, some coaches might say, well, that was just fair coverage by that covered team of the Ottawa Rough Riders. I think they're delighted. I think the special teams of the BC Lions have this Ottawa Football Club deathly afraid.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
You know, you got a guy like Mel Bird's averaging 27.5 yards. A kickoff return, Darnell Clash is so devastating that, yes, you've got to be scared to death when you're kicking the ball to them.
So the Lions start from their 37-yard line, leading at 4-3. DeWalt has been good on 5 of 8 so far. And this is Jim Sandusky. Sandusky will have a first down for the BC Lions.
You know, Pat, a few weeks ago we were doing a BC game, and I mentioned that Jim Sandusky had arthroscopic surgery done in the offseason without the knowledge of the club. And Jim and I had a little chat before the game, and he said, no, Leaf, he said, in fact, the club knew about it all the time, and there was never any problems. I'd heard that the club had been mad at him, but this was not the case, and I'd like to just clarify that point. Jim, a fine receiver, and seems like every time we do one of the BC Lion games, he has an excellent game himself.
Well, there's no question about it. He is an outstanding receiver from San Diego State, Jim Sandusky.
Looking still for his first touchdown this year.
Well, this is Keevan Jenkins on the little Statue of Liberty type play. They bring him around, and he picks up about 7 yards to the 53 or 4-yard line. Dan?
It'll be interesting to watch the battle, Pat, between Chris Sigler and Jan Karinci for the rest of this ball game. You know, Sigler almost didn't make this team in camp because of his speed. He's not all that quick. And when he plays up in the line, Karinci was saying when he came off, I can beat this guy all night if he keeps playing me that way. So Sigler's going to have to back off.
You know, Dan, I couldn't agree with you more. Here's a guy that's got 5 interceptions, but I think if I was Roy DeWalt, that's the area I'd be going as well.
They very well have a time count violation. I don't see the time count clocks here, but it's down to 0. Leaf just pointed it out that it is at the on top of the scoreboard in the end zone, and it's down to 0.
Time count violation. BC number 9. First down.
Well, that's a big penalty because it backs them back to the 48-yard line and makes it 2nd and 9. DeWalt sets up the screen to John Henry White. And John Henry crosses midfield into the Ottawa 52, and he'll be very close to a BC first down. Darrell Hall was there to upend him.
Well, they set that screen up so well. Just let the defensive line come through and dump it off to John Henry. He picks up a first down. You know, he's averaging 9.3 yards every time he catches the football, and that's exceptionally good for a running back.
So the Lions have a first down at the Ottawa 52-yard line. They lead it by a point. Keevan Jenkins. And Keevan was really whacked by Rick Sovieta as he broke through that line of scrimmage. He got inside the Ottawa 50 to about the 46-yard line. But he knows that he was hit because Sovieta really got a belt into him.
Pat, you know, I think on a club that's 6-1, you usually don't have too many areas of concern. But I think if there is one area, it has been the rushing game of the BC Lions. They've only been averaging 77 yards per game, and they'd like more production.
Well, there's a shot of Al Wilson, the offensive center, who tonight ties Norm Fieldgate for the most games ever played by a Lion. What a no, it was no catch. They rule no catch by Sandusky. DeWalt is furious. Well, the official was right there.
Well, that's a great accomplishment by Al Wilson. You and I had a little chat with him before the game and took a look at his Grey Cup ring. It's really a beautiful ring that all the players got last year. Now, great call by the official. No question the ball touched the ground as he was juggling it on the way down.
What I was attempting to tell everybody was that Al is now playing in his 223rd game, and that ties Normie Fieldgate for the most games ever played by a BC Lion. Congratulations to Al Wilson. He's not only been an outstanding player for 15 years, he really is one of the very nice people. Well, they fake it again. John Henry White takes the direct pass from center, gets to the 42-yard line, and it looks like he may be short by about a half a yard because Ricky Barden came in and stuck him. But you know what? You've got to like Donnie Matthews. The guy will gamble. He uses the CFL rules to their absolute limit. They play entertaining football, and that's probably one of the reasons he has the winningest percentage of any coach in CFL history.
Yeah, and when you're a player on a team like that, I mean, it's fun for the players to take gambles and some chances, the fake punts, the reverses, stuff like that, and here it paid off. They get a first down, and of course, if they'd given up the football with a great defense like that, those decisions become a little easier for Don Matthews.
And you know what? He gambled and won again, made it by the length of the football.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice move. John Henry White had a good idea where that yard marker was and got just enough.
We've got a 4-3 ball game in favor of the Lions, and we'll be back with BC's first down in a moment. The Ottawa 42-yard line. We've got 10.5 minutes left to play in this first half. BC leads it 4-3. DeWalt fires it over the middle. Keevan Jenkins is inside the 35 to about the 33-yard line. He'll have a pickup of 8. Al Washington was there to make the stop, number 17.
Well, it just shows the experience of Roy DeWalt. Instead of trying to maybe force the ball in a little deeper downfield, it's first down, and you've got a back coming over the middle, dump it off to Keevan. He gets close to 9 yards. It's a great play to keep your drive going.
Second down. Let's make it 1.5 yards to go. First down for the Lions. This is John Henry White. He's got the first down and lots more. And John Henry, with Ricky Barden on his back, is down to the 15-yard line.
Well, they do an excellent job along the left side. Gerald Roper, Al Wilson. Good block in there by Keevan Jenkins, and springs John Henry White loose.
You know, we've mentioned this every time we see the BC Lions, but I mean, it really is amazing that John Henry has been with BC so long. It's not amazing that he isn't a great football player, but there's been such a turnover in personnel, particularly at that spot in the league. Touchdown, Jan Carinci. Boy, did that look easy. And was that pretty to see? Nobody there. DeWalt, just so cool. Saw Carinci. Zappo, touchdown.
Well, you heard Dan Matheson's report from the sidelines that Jan Carinci said, I can eat this guy up all day long. He gave him a little wiggle to the outside, cut underneath, and really does make it look easy.
They're the two.
Oh, Ricky wanted to drill him even though he was in the end zone, but he said, no,
Jan would be saying good. They're like the real head-butting contest. So the touchdown and the point after by Louis Casaglia has given the BC Lions an 8-point advantage.
Well, it's tough to play a guy up close, and you're not really going to get a good look from this vantage point, but Roy DeWalt, a perfect strike. Jan Carinci, probably the easiest catch he's made all year.
Scarborough and Agent Court specifically will be going wild because Jan has scored the touchdown that has given the BC Lions an 11-3 lead over Ottawa. We'll be back with BC's kickoff in a moment. By Roy DeWalt to Jan Carinci was DeWalt's 100th career touchdown pass, and it gives the Lions an 11-3 lead as Carinci now kicks off. Reggie Butts from his 20-yard line. Butts is over the 40 to the 43. There was a big seam there, and he was running with his head up. He saw it. He cut back across the flow, and he gets out over the 40. And now it's incumbent upon Tom Burgess, the rookie Ottawa quarterback, to answer that drive by the BC Lions. Very well-balanced attack by BC tonight. 13 passing plays, 9 rushing. DeWalt is 9 of 13 in passing, 98 yards, 1 touchdown. They've looked good. And so they should. They're the best team in the CFL at the moment. The pass is complete to Mark Barus. Barus is forced out as he crosses the 50 to the 51 by Nelson Martin and Melvin Bird.
Well, that's the style of the run and shoot. Quick setup and get that ball away in a hurry. Mark Barus makes the catch, runs for a few more, and once again, 8 yards on first down is just perfect.
Barus has 3 more catches tonight. Coming into the ball game, he had 36, so he's up to 39 now. Let's watch him again.
Yeah, originally a free agent, was in the USFL for a while.
From McNeese State University. Second down, 2 yards to go, Ottawa. Burgess, a little toss out to Lester Brown, and Lester gets the first down. Looked like that old college play as the quarterback comes down the line. Larry Crawford was there to make the tackle.
Yeah, he tripped him up. Lester makes a nice cut here to get that first down. The option play, fake that fullback, try and hold Glenn Jackson, which they did. Now, Lester Brown's 1-on-1. He has to get by him, and he does, picks up the first down.
Ball is right at midfield. The Ottawa Rough Rider fans have been more responsive tonight than any game that we've been in here for this season. Burgess looks, fires down the middle. It was behind Mark Barus. He was fortunate that Kevin Konar didn't make the interception.
Pat, with the Ottawa offense looking pretty good once again for the second consecutive series. A couple of notes from the sidelines. One, Burgess says their offense is working the way they want it to, and they are not going to tinker, although they may run a little more often. Larry Crawford, meanwhile, BC defensive back, says he doesn't detect any changes except that Burgess is throwing the ball much better.
And quicker.
Yeah, he needs a big one right here because it's 2nd and 10. He got tripped up there. Jim Reed was trying to get loose on a screen pass, but the whole play was botched. Burgess tripped coming back from the center. Then Reed was all bottled up in the traffic, and as a result, he picks up 5 yards, but it leaves Ottawa 5 short of the first down.
Well, you'll see number 50, the left tackle, Kevin Powell, come out and try and take on Ty Cruz, who reads the play so quickly, and that really, actually was Michael Gray that got out from his defensive tackle spot, but the play just never had a chance to develop.
Ottawa has been fortunate. They've only had to punt once tonight to Darnell Flash. But they have to do it right now. Well, they're not going to pass. Or, excuse me, not going to punt. Kenny Clark wishes they had, because Ottawa ends up losing on the play.
Kenny should have kicked the ball because he took that as a lateral pass, and he still could have kicked it.
But there was penetration so quickly. Watch this.
Well, you know, when you're a tricky team yourself and you run a lot of fakes, you're always looking for the other team to do it, and you're very alert.
Good point. It's an 11-3 ball game. The BC Lions out in front of Ottawa. We'll be back in just a moment. Standing there, number 13, you've got to know he's saying to himself, I mean, what are we doing? I'm about 53 years old, and I'm running the football. Kenny, I'm just fooling on the 53.
14 years in professional football. He says, enough of this running with it.
John Henry White was the ball carrier. Ron Engelson, number 64, and James Curry, 78, were there to nail him just as he got beyond the line of scrimmage.
You know, Pat, the gamble didn't work by Joe Moss on 3rd down there, but I think you have to take chances like that.
Sure.
When you're an underdog coming in a game, you know, you can't try and play straight up with BC and expect to win. You got to take your shot when you get it.
I couldn't agree with you more. It is 2nd down, 9 yards to go for Roy DeWalt in the shotgun. Yeah, good move, Roy. He doesn't get the first down, but he saves his life as he just burrows into the turf at the 50-yard line. So the gamble by Ottawa cost them some field position, but apart from that, nothing.
Good coverage downfield that time. Roy DeWalt. Discretion, the better part of valor there. Tucked it under his arm, ran, could not pick it up, but Ottawa secondary's done a good job. And of course, we've had the injury to Lamont Meacham, so he's out of the ballgame. Mike McIntyre in. Let's have a look at Jim Sandusky. Darrell Hall, number 24, the cornerback, all over him. No place to go.
Casaglia's punt is a short one as it bounces at the 23 and then rolls out of bounds at about the 17 or 18-yard line.
Yeah, I'm disappointed they don't field those punts. You know, you just gave them an extra 10 yards. You've got to use your speed, come up and make that catch.
The problem is, I think they were respecting Casaglia so much that they couldn't get to the ball because he kicked it short. Kicking it, well, the wind has really died if you look at the flags. Ottawa exhibition, Central Canada exhibition is on here at Lansdowne Park. It hasn't changed since I was a boy. Still got the same hamburger stands, too.
And let me tell you, they got the fast 20 out of me at the old Crown and Anchor game like they get every year.
Tyrone Cruz and Nelson Martin were there to make the stop on Lester Brown, who picks up 3 yards on first down for Ottawa. This is an area, of course, that Ottawa has to be conservative in because the BC Lions just live off turnovers in this area of the field.
Well, they're the leaders in that category this year. You see the wind really has died down, but they're a +10 in the takeaway giveaway category. So you're right, Pat. It's a dangerous area to operate in.
Burgess is going deep in behind us. Lewis, he makes the catch down at the BC 37-yard line. You know what? That was a real athletic move by Mark Lewis. He was backpedaling. He had to adjust to the football, and he made the catch.
Yeah, Darnell Clash is hurt, too, on the play. He was covering on that 53-yard long bomb, but watch the great throw by Tom Burgess. He kind of does it off his back foot. What a great arm he has. Nice catch, too. Take the ball at its highest point. That's what Mark Lewis does. Picture perfect.
If the pass is 4 yards deeper, it's a touchdown because Lewis is in behind them.
Well, they don't beat this guy too often, Darnell Clash, so let's have a look and see what happened. Well, he just got caught watching the quarterback and didn't see Lewis slip in behind him. You know, you've got to have a sixth sense of watching the quarterback and the receiver. That time, he just got caught, and he's down on the field, and he's hurt. You see him grabbing his knee just as he goes down there. Might be just a cramp, though.
I hope that's all it is. But, you know, it's funny. We were sitting around the hotel today talking about the game and about the personalities. And the point was made that Mark Lewis really hasn't done a whole lot since coming to the Ottawa Rough Riders from the USFL. But on that one particular play, he really impressed me because I thought that was an extremely difficult catch. Now, you're a receiver. Am I making more of the catch than what it was? I mean, he's running backwards, trying to adjust to the football.
You know, it's not that tough a catch, but what is tough is keeping your concentration because all of a sudden you're turning and you're backpedaling and you see two guys coming right in your face mask. You want to take the ball at its highest point so you get your hands on it first, and I thought he did a great job. Now watch how he goes out, get the hands up high, take it at its highest point, and then tuck it in. Oh, that was a good play. Well, listen, you know the guy's a good receiver. He caught 75 passes last year for the Denver Gold in the USFL, so you don't do that by fluking it.
And, Leaf, how about the offensive perspective of a tackle? Talking with Roger Catlin of Ottawa, he said that the Lions' defense is not doing anything they did not expect, but what they are doing is giving Burgess a lot of different looks and making a lot of subtle changes just before the snap of the ball, just to put him off.
Well, I think they do that with the run and shoot to mess up the timing because you want to get the ball off quickly. If Burgess hesitates with trying to read a coverage, that can be all the time that they need to mess up the play.
Darnell Clash got a warm hand from this audience here at Lansdowne Park. He has really become a favorite in all the parks across the league. Bernie Glear, number 7, comes into the ball game. It is first down, Ottawa. The ball is at the BC 38-yard line. Quickly to Mark Barousse, and he's touched down by Kevin Konar as he gets to about the 32, 33-yard line. He'll be close to 4 or 5 yards.
Once again, I like the call. Hit him quick and let him try and catch some yards. Joe Moss must be pleased tonight. You know, offensively, they've been pretty good all year. It's the defense that he's worried about.
They've moved Larry Crawford to the corner in place of Darnell Clash. Burgess fires. Lewis again makes the catch, this time at the 2-yard line. Boy, I'll tell you, Burgess is a cool dude. And he finally found the one guy who was open, Mark Lewis, for a gain of 32 yards.
Yeah, once again, a broken play, and Tom Burgess gets outside of the pocket, and that's where he becomes very dangerous. You see Ty Cruz in pursuit, but once again out of the pocket. And that's just a great throw on the run. Nice adjustment by Mark Lewis, and he just got in a soft spot with Larry Crawford out on the corner. Nelson Martin couldn't get over to make the play.
The Ottawa Rough Riders have the ball at the BC 1-yard line. What a drive this has been. 2 big plays. Lester Brown, touchdown, Ottawa. The Rough Riders drive it 94 yards, and now they're within 2.
Well, nothing fancy about this, but Lester Brown caps off a truly spectacular drive engineered by Tom Burgess on the drive. The big plays by Mark Lewis, a couple of catches for 85 yards in that drive.
That's not bad, 85 out of 94. Burgess is 10 of 14, 155 yards.
Well, you know, Pat, we talked about they had to get a little more production out of their wide receivers. They've certainly done that in the first half.
Dean Dorsey has made this a one-point ball game. And the crowd at Lansdowne Park is loving it. A standing ovation for the Ottawa offense. We suggested at the top of the show, you don't always know what's going to happen when one club is so outstanding and the other one has been in the doldrums. You kind of feel that one club will run away with it. But in the CFL, anything can happen. This has really been an outstanding year. And incidentally, the Calgary Stampeders, who won last night at home against the Montreal Alouettes, are the visitors next week in BC Place. That should be a heck of a football game, because the Stampeders must be the most improved team in football. Incidentally, at halftime, the Special Olympics will host the media pig races. All the local media will be racing pigs.
Are you going to be in that one?
Pigs. On the kickoff, Keevan Jenkins on the dead run. Good return by Keevan over the 45 to about the 46-yard line. Well, at halftime, we will introduce you to the new general manager of the British Columbia Lions, Joe Galat. We'll take a look at last night's Calgary-Montreal highlights. The very popular feature, Ask the Commissioner, starring the commissioner of the CFL, Doug Mitchell. And we'll have a good close look at Darnell Flash, who will be featured on the Pacific Western Stars of the Week. Ned Armour with his first reception of the evening gets to about the 52-yard line for a pickup of about 6. Treg Songi and Chris Sigler were there to make the stop for Ottawa. Well, we've got a close one. BC 11, Ottawa 10. We'll be back for the final 3:04 of the first half in a moment. Offensive star. What is his situation, Dan?
Well, he won't be back this quarter. He may be back for the third quarter, Pat. His knee doesn't feel right. He's not in a lot of discomfort. He has ice on it. He's been walking in it all right. They want to take a closer look at halftime.
That's the story on Darnell Clash from our Dan Matheson. 2nd and 3. Roy DeWalt pass is taken by Sandusky. He's got the first down and lots more. And Sandusky is ridden down by Al Washington as he gets inside the 40 to about the 38-yard line.
Back-to-back quick screens for the BC Lions, and Jim Sandusky does a nice pivot move here after he catches the football, turns it to the outside. And good block outside. It looks like John Henry White provided that one, but boy, when he gets that ball, look at the acceleration. He really gets it upfield in a hurry.
First down, Lions. The ball at the Ottawa 38. DeWalt floats it up, looking for Armour. Very nearly intercepted by Treg Songi, but he just couldn't hang on. Songi, the newcomer from Tulane University. He's got to play well tonight, too. His job's on the line.
Yeah, and it's really tougher for him now because he's out on the hot spot. He's been moved out to the corner with that injury to Meacham, but an out and up to Ned Armour read perfectly by Treg Songi. You know, he was originally 12th round draft choice of the New Orleans Saints in '85, could not catch on with them, and of course was signed as a free agent by the Ottawa Rough Riders.
DeWalt is dropped all the way back at the 53-yard line. James Curry, his 8th sack of the year.
Well, here's a guy that's really bounced around the CFL in his short career, but every team he plays for, he seems to really play well. This is his 7th sack already in 1986, and it comes at a most opportune time when BC looked like they were putting a pretty good drive together.
I mentioned that it was his 8th. Really, the reason I said that is he had 6.5 sacks coming in. In other words, he was part of a sack earlier.
Yeah, I don't know this half stuff.
No,
I don't like
this
this
crazy,
half. Yeah,
but I didn't want to cheat him out of that half sack, so I said it was 8.
What happens if you finish the year with just half a sack?
Well, you finish with no money because you'll have been cut. Mark Lewis dances at the 24-yard line, but can't get anybody to take him home, obviously, because he doesn't get anywhere.
That'd be a lot of fun to say to your friends when they say, listen, what kind of year did you have? Well, not bad. I had half a sack.
Next Friday night, or on August the 22nd, if you prefer, the Ottawa Rough Riders will be in Winnipeg, and CTV will have it for you on Friday Night Football.
It doesn't get too easy for Ottawa, does it? BC one week, go out to Winnipeg the next.
Well, they can take solace in the fact that everybody has to play the same teams.
Yeah, right. But back-to-back, wow. Ricky Barton, the injured ball player, I don't think he's injured too bad. He looks like he'll be all right.
Well, you know, last time we were here in Ottawa, I made a comment about the civil servants. It was prior to a holiday, and I had said tongue-in-cheek, hopefully with some jest, that the civil servants had probably left town the day before the holiday and wouldn't be back until a week later. Well, there were some civil servants who didn't think that was a particularly hilarious comment. It's never been suggested that you have to have a sense of humor to work in the civil service. Nevertheless, we are not here to insult those fine people. And if you were insulted, I apologize. But really, loosen up, fellas. I mean, life is too short to be that serious about everything. Anyway, it is Ottawa Rough Riders with the ball at the 24-yard line. Well, the pass is completed in sensational fashion to Clorindo Grilli, number 26. But he'll only gain about 3 or 4 yards.
Well, Clorindo, originally drafted by Edmonton. Well, there's Ricky Barton on the bench. Now, they've got to get him healthy. They're working on his knee as well. Interesting. The defensive backs are going down like flies tonight. Meacham's out. Darnell Clash is injured. And now Ricky Barton. I want to tell you about Clorindo Grilli in a minute when we have a chance.
He picked up 5 yards, so make it 2nd and 5. Burgess, hits Lewis coming across the middle. A pretty play. Lewis makes the catch at the 46-yard line. What a big night for Mark Lewis.
Yeah, he's having a great night, and they were hoping that he would get on track. Let's have a good close look at him. He's working against number 28, Larry Crawford. And Larry originally came here as a cornerback, so the position is not strange to him. But, you know, it was a good pattern, but an even better throw by Tom Burgess. He's really been sharp. Lewis has caught 5 passes for 125 yards tonight. Gives Ottawa first down at their own 47-yard line. This one is picked off by Kevin Konar. It was intended for Mark Barousse. Barousse is furious. He felt there should have been a pass interference penalty. But he can do all the talking that he wants because the BC Lions have the football. Well, we're going to have a good look at this. I didn't think there was interference. He steps in front and makes an excellent play. Picks off his 2nd pass of the season. Well, they have a great group of linebackers. Glenn Jackson, Ty Cruz, Kevin Konar. 3rd turnover by the Ottawa Rough Riders tonight, and it's a big one because with 1:17 left to play in the half, the BC Lions have possession at their own 45. Again, the screen, this time to Ned Armour. And Armour tried to get outside, does to the 53, but Chris Sigler made sure that he didn't get a really turned up field and made the stop. Yeah, I think old Ned should have cut inside instead of going outside. All the blocking, they were trying to kick everybody out, but Ned decided he wanted to try and use his speed and couldn't get by Chris Ziegler. Pass is complete to Jan Carinci. Jan just hustles his way to the 50-yard line. Rick Sovieta was one of those there, and so too was Treg Songi. Treg Songi really gave him a pretty good shot in the back. Yeah, that won't bother Jan. Oh, he'd like that. He'll say, is that your best shot? Oh, yeah, come on. Can't you do better than that? Well, Roy did a wise thing. He picked up what he could, got out of bounds, stopped the clock at 49 yards. There was very good coverage by that Ottawa secondary because DeWalt looked and just couldn't find anybody coming free. And Jan Carinci really threw a devastating block when Roy DeWalt rolled out, and he got number 83. I believe that's Michel Bourgeot. That sure is, and he just drilled him as he was in pursuit.
You'll notice Ricky Barden is back in the ball game too. The story on Ricky is he has slightly stretched knee ligaments, and this series really is just a test for him. There's a chance he might not come back, but he looks all right now.
Oh yeah, Ricky, I mean, they'd have to lacerate the tendons and everything else for him to miss the play.
And they're running out of defensive backs. They're down to their last one and bringing Mike McIntyre in, so this is a time where you really, unless you're half dead, you got to stay out there.
Ricky Barden, as Michel Bourgeot leaves the playing field. Ricky's been in the CFL for 6 years now from North Carolina. Not a big guy at 5'9", 185 pounds, but he loves to whack people.
Eastern All-Star last year.
So DeWalt managed to pick up about 4 yards. It's second down, 6 yards to go. 49 seconds left to play in the half. The Lions are leading it by a single point. On the draw, this is Keevan Jenkins. I'll give Keevan all the credit in the world because he made it on his own. Danced left, danced right, finally spotted a little opening and gets inside the 40 for a pickup of 8 yards and another BC Lions first down. And now, of course, they're within field goal range for Louis Pasaglia. The clock is running with 40 seconds left in the half. DeWalt fires. Ned Armour makes a great catch. The ball was behind him. He adjusted to it, reached back, hauls it in inside the 20 at the 19-yard line. A couple of injured Ottawa Rough Riders. Number 78 is James Curry, and Greg Marshall is very slow getting to his feet.
Ned Armour just made a super catch, reaching back behind him. As Pat mentioned, Greg Marshall down. And boy, they really have run into some injury problems tonight defensively.
Greg Marshall from Oregon State. He's been in Ottawa for 8 seasons. Many, many times an All-Star. When they didn't have a whole lot going for him, he was by far their best defensive player.
There you see Curry with the initial pressure and just couldn't get the sack, and then the fabulous catch by Ned Armour.
14 out of 19 for 160 yards, which puts him 5 yards away from Huntley.
Breaking the all-time BC Lion passing record, which is held by one of the greats, Joe Kapp. 4 yards will tie it. 5 makes him the leader.
We're talking about Roy DeWalt as you take a look at Greg Marshall, who appears to be all right now as he leaves the playing field.
You know, Cleveland originally drafted Roy DeWalt in 1980 as a running back. He said, I don't want any part of this, so he came signed with the BC Lions, where he's done a great job as their quarterback.
It's first down as they give on the draw to Keevan Jenkins, and Keevan just hustles his way down to the 10, and they'll probably spot the ball at the 9-yard line with 14 seconds left.
I do believe they still have a timeout left if they choose to use it. 14 seconds is worth 3 plays.
Boy, have they moved the ball on this series, though. DeWalt's pass, touchdown, Jan Carinci. One of the reasons we are a much better football team than 1985, Donnie Matthews told me before the game, is because of number 27, Jan Carinci, and also the man who came with him from Toronto, Walter Ballard, our defensive end. Watch this one.
Yeah, it's a great play for an inside receiver to have DeWalt roll to the wide side of the field, and then when you come back to the short side, that inside slot back has a heck of a lot of room to maneuver, and Jan found himself wide open.
Well, of course, it puts BC 8 points ahead, but more than that, it just deflates the Ottawa Rough Riders, who were in the ball game down by a point.
And you know what? That's a nice way to break the record, isn't it? Roy DeWalt becomes the all-time leading BC passer, and he does it throwing a touchdown pass. I think it's only fitting.
Well, he's certainly had a wonderful, wonderful career, and speaking with Donnie Matthews on the field before the game, I said, how good is Matthews? He said he's as good as anybody that's been in the league since I've been here. The guy is a wonderful athlete. He takes an awful lot of criticism from people that, you know, who are football fans around the country, but he said, I've never been able to understand it. He said, look at what we're doing without Mervyn Fernandez. Can there be any question that Mervyn is the most talented player at his position in the league? Roy DeWalt is winning football games without his absolute best receiver.
Speaking of Mervyn Fernandez, he's eligible to come off the injury list September 4th
which is just prior to the visit by the Ottawa Rough Riders out to BC Place.
Reggie Butts from the 22-yard line. And Reggie's out to about the 41 or 42 with just 2 seconds showing on the clock as Bruce Barnett, number 12, was down to make the tackle. Roy has hit 6 receivers tonight on his way to completing 15 of 20 pass attempts for 169 yards, and both touchdown passes went from Roy DeWalt to Jan Carinci. So Tom Burgess, who has played well for Ottawa at quarterback tonight, has 2 seconds to see if he can put this ball in the end zone. Burgess has been good on 12 of 17 for 178 yards. Unfortunately for him, he's had 2 interceptions. Well, Ottawa doesn't take any chances. They just get Burgess to go down on one knee, and that does it. The first half has come to an end. It's been a very entertaining 30 minutes of football. The British Columbia Lions are out in front of the hometown Ottawa Rough Riders, 18-10.
We will talk with the new general manager of the BC Lions, Joe Gallat, during the CFL This Week segment of our upcoming... Carling O'Keefe Sports, the CFL This Week. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Ottawa, where the BC Lions tonight are playing their second game under their new general manager, Joe Gallat. Of course, every CFL fan knows Joe. He did have a similar position, along with some coaching duties once upon a time in Montreal. And he joins us now to talk about the switch from La Belle Provence to the West Coast. Joe, you're kind of in a difficult situation, really. You're taking over a ball team that has terrific attendance at the gate. It's a championship team. It's a team that's winning now. If anything goes wrong, they're going to say Gallat did it.
Well, I don't mind that. I would rather be in a situation like this because we got a fine young team, and I think the fellows on that ball club are genuinely interested in winning. They're doing a super job. The front office is in solid shape. I don't mind the challenge.
You had a very different role in Montreal. You had to sell tickets. You were rebuilding, bringing in new players. Now it's kind of a tinkering and keep it going process for you, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. You know, I've left behind in Montreal some good friends and some fine football players, but I guess in sports you have to move on, and I feel like this situation is probably the best in all of the league, and Bobby Ackles called it the best job in the CFL until he went to Dallas, and now it's the best job in North America, so it is a challenge.
Tell me about selling tickets in Vancouver, because it's often been said the province of Quebec is a unique market, but the same has been said of the West Coast. What have the changes been that you've seen going from Montreal to Vancouver?
Well, I guess the biggest change, we used to pray for a good day in Montreal, and now we pray for a bad day in Vancouver, but interestingly enough, since they've had the Dome, they've had very few bad days for the ball games, and what a delight last week. The fans really turned out, 49,000 people, and on a solid weekend, a very nice weekend. So we're encouraged. Sales are going really good for this week, and I think the difference basically is that we have people in Vancouver who really have taken to the Lions. They love their football team, they're supporting their football team, and I couldn't be happier.
You've been there a couple of weeks. What do you want to do with the team on the field? Any thoughts right now?
Well, I'd like to win the Grey Cup, certainly. I think that's one of the areas that has been taken care of last year, and hopefully, if things go well, and it's certainly off to a good start, we'll do that again this year. It's what everybody's goal is, to win the Grey Cup. Joe Gallat, the new general manager of the BC Lions. We wish you well and enjoy the rest of the ball game tonight. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Joe. Let's go to tape now. We have highlights from last night's lone contest in the Canadian Football League, Montreal at Calgary. And every time the Alouettes play, you know you will see some defense as they meet Rick Johnson and company last night. But they held the CFL's leading passer to only 9 completions in 29 attempts and intercepted him 4 times. David Daniels grabbed the errant throw, pitches the ball to Rick Ryan. The ensuing Roy Kurtz field goal made it 11-10 Calgary. But the Stampeders played some defense of their own. They intercepted rookie Brian Ransom 3 times. Greg Peterson finds the handle here. He goes the other way. This turnover leads not to a field goal, but to the game's only major score. Mind you, it took their backup quarterback to orchestrate the drive. Jeff Tedford comes into the game. The only time this year anyone other than Johnson has played quarterback for Calgary. He and big Ray Alexander hook up for a 38-yard gain. The Stampeders threatening.
And then Tedford goes airborne for the touchdown for the Montreal 11. He finds Jamie Harris. Win number 4 for the Stampeders. They won 3 all of last year. The final, 21-10. Rounding out this weekend's schedule, Saskatchewan at Hamilton tomorrow night. BC's next home game is this Thursday. They will play host under the dome to those Calgary Stampeders. 2 games on CTV next weekend. The Friday nighter has Ottawa at Winnipeg. Saturday night, it is Edmonton at Toronto. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. Halftime continues in a moment.
Television Network. Sunday evenings at 7, enjoy The Cosby Show on Channel 6.
Each week, the CFL's most outstanding players in the offensive, defensive, and lineman categories are recognized as Pacific Western Airlines Stars of the Week. Lineman Star was awarded to James Quick Parker for the 2nd time in '86. Registering 3 sacks, Parker's intensity proved decisive in BC's win over Saskatchewan. The defensive star went to Montreal's Terry Irvin with 1 fumble recovery and 2 interceptions. This 10-year CFL veteran played a leading role in Montreal's win over Edmonton. Tonight, our CTV profile focuses on elusive Darnell Clash of the Lions, awarded offensive star for his outstanding special teams play. Covering 201 yards on 7 punt returns, his electrifying display included a game-breaking 66-yard touchdown return.
Even the BC Lions didn't understand the full meaning of it until the last few weeks when it started being so successful for them. But when you look at your game film on tape, you've got 1/3 of it is in special teams. And if that much of the game is accounted for with those types of plays, then it's the players' credit that they go out and play as hard as our players do and make something happen.
We've got what we call a middle return and wall returns. We try to set a picket fence for Darnell to run down the sidelines, or we try to spread the middle of the field out to give him a lane up inside. We felt that we could get better hold-ups up front with 11 people up front and with just Darnell back because he's such a terrific return man, and he catches the ball real well.
We have an offense that comes to the field, and their job is to score points. And as a defensive player, Darnell will intercept the ball and score points. And as a punt returner, he'll catch the ball and score points. So when he's on the field, he's a threat to take the ball into the end zone.
I go off of Nelson Martin's block, in which he does a great job. And from there, all the other 10 guys are setting me up. Keith Gooch, I can go on and on, but they all do a heck of a job blocking for me. And I take a great deal of pride of that because they make it happen for me and I make it happen for them. And so it's a team effort. I took great pride in just sitting back down and relaxing myself and getting out of the fast lane. That's, results of my better performance this year. Enjoy Vancouver because it's a lovely place to be. As you see, you got Expo, you got the Dome, you got visitors from all over the world. It's just a place to be, and I'm very happy to be here. There's always room for improvement for everything you can do in life, so it can get better, and I guess I can handle it, take it as it comes. Most of that was just enjoy myself and take it as it comes. Yeah, it can always get better. That's the main thing. I want to work with some kids and get involved more, social environment with Vancouver, period.
Because Paul Darnell, he's a sharp young man, dresses nice, keeps himself very clean, well-spoken, smooth.
The Stars of the Week profile has been brought to you by Pacific Western Airlines, serving over 40 Canadian destinations. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
Moments like these are the result of months of hard work and practice. As a professional athlete, I understand the value of Special Olympics programs for mentally handicapped people. These fitness, recreation, and sport training programs are designed to prepare mentally handicapped athletes for participation in regular community activities. Special Olympics programs deserve your support. Please contact your local chapter.
This message brought to you by the Canadian Football League.
The most obvious difference between American football and the way it's played in Canada is that we have 3 downs in this country instead of 4. And today's question for Ask the Commissioner comes from Vancouver, BC. Lou Ballo writes, has the CFL ever considered the implementation of a 4-down system during its history, and what were the reasons it was turned down? Doug Mitchell joins us now. Doug, are we nationalists on this one?
Well, Dan, we looked at it on the basis of our market research when we went out to the fans a year and a half ago and asked them whether or not they thought that would be a progressive change for us, and it came back on the basis that 80% of the fans polled were in favor of keeping 3 downs as opposed to 4.
You've got the possibility in the next few years that you might have to go metric.
Would you go 4 downs if you had to go metric?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll stay away from 4 downs. The other part of it, I think, that came back very emphatic was that the fans felt that the 3 downs was a much more exciting offensive game than running the ball a lot on 4 downs. So I think we'll stick with the 3 downs.
So there you go, 3 downs in the Canadian Football League, and we will continue to put the ball in the air in the CFL. If you want to ask the commissioner, here's the address by which you can reach Doug Mitchell.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I've never actually spoken to the commissioner about that 4 downs thing, but I was really interested to hear that 80% of the fans polled said no, they want 3 downs. There's a look at the statistical story, and it really does show you what a very good first half. We were entertained by both these teams here for the first 30 minutes. 18-10, BC Lions lead it. Leaf, I enjoyed it, and I'll tell you, the ball was in the air a lot. There were some great catches and some big interceptions, too.
There were, and the fans at Lansdowne Park really enjoyed this first half. But, you know, the BC Lions have so many weapons. You know, you think maybe of Jim Sandusky or Ned Armour as the big guns, but Jan Karinci, who is turned out to be such a dependable receiver for them, had 2 touchdowns in the first half. This is his first one. He made a great move to get in behind Chris Sigler, and that got the BC Lions off to a good start at this point. They were ahead 11-3, but the Ottawa Rough Riders came storming back, and really it was the Mark Lewis show because he made a couple of great catches in this first half. In fact, he had 5 catches for 125 yards, but a great throw deep downfield by quarterback Tom Burgess. Nice catch by Mark Lewis, and 53 yards later, he made the big play. A couple plays later, it's Mark Lewis once again. Now, Larry Crawford's in at the corner spot because Darnell Clash was hurt on that last pass play, and Mark Lewis just kind of sneaks himself into the open area, makes the catch, and gets it down to the 1-yard line. The next play, Lester Brown took it in for the touchdown, and Ottawa was back in the ballgame. The only mistake, really, that Tom Burgess made in the first half was the interception right there to Kevin Konar.
Well, the BC Lions and the Ottawa Rough Riders. The BC Lions and the Ottawa Rough Riders. And to start the half, penalty marker comes down in the offensive backfield.
G number 52.
Well, Al Wilson is called for offensive holding. So negate that play and move the Lions back to the 30. They caught us just a little bit unawares there. The boys really got off the mark in a hurry to start this second half. I see that Darnell Clash is on the bench. He's walking around. Let's hope that he's able to get back in this ball game. First down for the BC Lions. The ball at their own 30. They lead it 18-10. We're just underway in the third quarter. DeWalt fumbles the football. It is recovered by the Lions inside the 20. James Curry was there to sack the BC quarterback for the second time tonight.
Pat, the word on Darnell Clash, mild knee strain. He's going to try it on the sidelines. He might be back this quarter.
Keep our fingers crossed for him, because if you watch CFL football, you want to see the best players in there, and Darnell certainly qualifies as one of the best.
And, of course, that graphic illustrates that that's what Ottawa has to do tonight to be successful. That time, Brian Illebrin could just not handle big number 78, James Curry.
It's second down and 31 yards to go for a first down. So they set up the screen to Keevan Jenkins. And Keevan is dropped by Harrison after he'd been tripped up by Ricky Barton. He crossed the 25, got to the 28, and Keevan is still down on the ground.
Yeah, he's had problems, of course, with knee surgery, and really still been a little bit tentative in 1986, I believe. But Ricky Barton, number 25, there you see him in your screen. He just made a heck of a play, read the screen properly, came up, didn't make the final tackle, but slowed him up enough.
Gentlemen, while we're still talking about injuries, the Riders will be maintaining their rebuilt secondary because the word on Lamont Meacham is mild concussion. He has not come back to the bench. He will not play tonight.
No, you know, it's a very nice night to watch a football game. It's a little hot and humid, and you're playing on the artificial turf. And then, of course, we don't have to tell you about knee injuries, but we do want to tell you about the Michigan 500 that you will see on CTV's Wide World of Sports tomorrow starting at 4 o'clock. And Meldrick Taylor goes up against Howard Davis in a classy 10-round lightweight bout. That's all on Wide World of Sports tomorrow afternoon. Reggie Butts and Mark Lewis, 29 and 5 respectively, are back to return this punt from Louis Pasaglia as Kevan Jenkins walks off the field, which is a great sign. And he seems to be all right. Good high twisting spiral. Butts takes it at the 42. Oh, he was rocked. Ricky Barton threw a terrific block for the Ottawa Rough Riders on Gerald Roper. But it was Jan Carinci who came down and made the stop on behalf of the BC Lions. But the Riders have to be pleased. They've got the football back in decent field position at their own 41. They were able to contain the Lions on that first series.
Boy, do you think Jan Carinci's into this game tonight? A couple of touchdowns, made a tackle on the opening kickoff tonight, and that time down makes the tackle on the punt.
Burgess is dropped for the first time tonight back at the 26-yard line. James Quick Parker, his first sack tonight. I haven't really noticed James a whole lot in this football game, and yet he's one of the greatest of all time.
Well, that's their first sack on defense tonight, and Rick Klassen got a little help as well. James Parker, I guess that's what you call a half sack. They got to share that one.
You know, it's funny. Donnie Matthews was telling me, on this team, the players motivate each other. In other words, he said the coaches don't go in there and rant and rave. It's the various units that motivate each other. There's great pride on the team. That's evident. You know, they win all the time. Well, Burgess was simply running for his life on that occasion, and he ends up losing more yardage as another BC Lion is down. Kevin Konar was there to make the stop.
Boy, there have been as many vicious peelback blocks tonight as I've seen all year. That time, Michael Gray, 77, just got drilled. Number 40, James Parker, in his pursuit, got drilled by Lester Brown. There's Kevan Jenkins on the sideline. Boy, they don't want to lose him tonight. He's such a big part of their offense. Looks like he's been able to shake off that injury, and he'll be back.
Leaf, he didn't get any sympathy when he came off the field. The first player to meet him was Ned Armour, who gave him heck for getting in his pass route.
Darnell Clash is in the ball game and is back at the BC 37 awaiting this punt from Ken Clark. It's a good one, and he angles it towards the sidelines. Clash takes it at the 38, and here's the reverse to Melvin Bird. But Ottawa covers it well. He's down at the 42 by Mike Hudson, number 73. But the Lions will have good field position.
Hey, Mike Hudson just makes a tremendous play. They've got the reverse on Mel Bird. He's a sneaky, elusive runner. But watch 73. Mike Hudson really trips him up initially, but forces him back to the inside where he gets some help.
So the Lions continue to lead the Rough Riders 18-10. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Lansdowne Park in the nation's capital. I'm Pat Marsden along with Leif Pedersen and Dan Matheson. The Lions lead the Rough Riders 18-10. BC with a first down at their 42. Kevan Jenkins was hit as he got the handoff. In very quickly was James Curry, number 78, to make the stop. Dan? Well, Dan's mad at us and won't talk to us. Let me simply tell you that it is second down and about 9.5 yards to go because Curry stood Kevan up right as he got to the line of scrimmage. Oh, there's a good hit. Now, is this a fumble? No, they rule it an incomplete pass. John Pankratz was the intended receiver. There was really a collision, and the ball popped out immediately. So it simply goes as an incompletion.
Pat, you can't play defense any better than that. When you're a linebacker and you're playing zone coverage, you try and squeeze those lanes down as tight as possible. That time, Steve Harrison and Rick Sovieta did a super job. Pankratz got his hands on the ball, but they just drilled him and knocked it loose.
And it's good to see Steve Harrison playing well for Ottawa. He's been in the league 4 years now from UBC. You know, he's had to play on special teams and everything else, but now he's in there as a linebacker, and he's done a good job tonight.
First-round draft choice in 1983. Very much heralded coming out of the University of British Columbia.
Lewis is back to his 19-yard line. Oh, what a hit. The ball. Ottawa really bought themselves a break on that occasion. Scott Leckie, number 34.
Yeah, he made the initial hit on Mark Lewis. You're going to get a great look at it here. Watch 34, Scott Leckie, the rookie, comes down, and it was a handoff on a reverse, actually, to Reggie Butts. I couldn't see it initially on the play, but, of course, the replay showed that very well.
It's funny, I didn't realize it was a reverse. Yeah. I thought they had faked the reverse.
I thought it was such a good hit, he coughed it up.
Yeah.
Not a great spot to start, though, for Tom Burgess.
No, you would prefer to start someplace other than your own 7-yard line. This is Lester Brown. Nowhere to go. Dan, want to talk to us now?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Lee's comment earlier, when you're a tricky team, you keep your eyes open for tricky things. The ball had just left Ken Clark's foot, or sorry, Lou Pasaglia's foot. Darnell Clash was almost leaning over the field screaming, reverse, reverse, and the whole bench picked it up.
Well, you know, he's so smart. He probably saw 29, Reggie Butts, sneaking down the sidelines, getting ready to peel around behind, and alerted his teammates.
It's 2nd down and 10 yards to go for Ottawa. Burgess going to have to put it up. Does to Mark Baruch. Baruch coughs up the football. Ottawa cannot fall on it. BC does. They'll have a 1st down inside the 15-yard line. We mentioned it earlier. You don't want to make mistakes against the BC Lions because they'll jump on you.
Tyrone Cruz is going to come up with a fumble recovery, but Mark Baruch makes a nice catch, good throw, but you've got to hang on to the football in your own territory. Mel Bird, number 10, locks it loose. Lester Brown can't come up with it. But watch old number 91. He comes in, and the Lions have a big break.
They also have the lead 18-10. We'll be back to see if they can add to it in a moment. Keep offensive and defensive game stars after the game. That man's got to get some consideration. Ty Cruz has played well here tonight. 1st down for the Lions. From the Ottawa 13. Well, guess who they were looking for? The fellow who already has 2 touchdowns tonight, Jan Carinci.
Well, it so often happens, you know, when you're up against a really tough team like BC, you have a tendency to beat yourself. That interception we showed you on the halftime highlights by Kevin Konar led directly to Jan Carinci. 2nd touchdown. Now a fumble recovery by Ty Cruz deep in Ottawa territory has BC knocking at the door once again.
This may be the biggest defensive series of this ball game for the Rough Riders. DeWalt is cut down as he gets to about the 7-yard line. He'll be short of the 1st down by a solid 5 yards.
Number 64, Ron Engelson, really had the good initial pressure and looked as though he was going to come up with the sack, but Roy DeWalt sneaks away. However, they still are well short of that 1st down marker, and I'm sure we'll be very happy to settle for a Lou Pasaglia field goal attempt.
Well, Louis had one from 11 yards earlier tonight. This one will be about 13.
And watch for the tricks once again, because even if they don't make it, they'd have Ottawa pinned deep in their own territory. So
now Louis goes through. It is good. The British Columbia Lions now lead it by 11 points with 8 minutes and 50 seconds left to play in the 3rd quarter.
And all that tricky stuff, too, on the kicking game when you fake punts or maybe fake field goals really messes up the defense. So you just don't come after those kicks as hard as normal because you're waiting for something to happen. So it really affects all kinds of things.
There's a man that they are really talking about in this town, Todd Dillon from Cal State. You won't find his name in this book yet, but let me guarantee you that it'll be there next year. If you want one of the best facts and figures books on any league in any sport, this is it. CFL 86. You can get it by writing to 1200 Bay Street, 12th floor, Toronto, Ontario, $14.95 plus $3 in handling, or you can buy it at most bookstores from coast to coast in this country.
Bit of news from the sidelines, Pat. It seems that Chris Sigler has re-injured a hamstring that he hurt a month ago. He's nursing it now on the sidelines, but if he goes down, that means the Riders are out of defensive backs. And the word we get from the coaching staff is that they would then switch to 4 linebackers and go with only 4 backs. Greg Miller would see action as the 4th linebacker.
Thank you, Dan. That's what will happen if Sigler cannot continue. Carenci's kickoff is going to be hard to handle. Well, it wasn't, as a matter of fact, for Lester Brown. And Lester just hurdles his way over the 40 to the 43. It wasn't an end-over-end kick. It's the kind that can bounce crazily. Unfortunately for Brown, it bounced right into his hands, and he took off heading north and south and gets it over the 40 to about the 41.5-yard line. And Todd Dillon, who arrived in camp this week after general manager Don Holtby went to Los Angeles and babysat him all the way back to Ottawa to make sure that nothing happened to him, that he didn't go astray, is in at the quarterbacking position. The handoff is to Jim Reed. Reed is over the 45 to about the 46-yard line.
Well, one of the reasons why they're so happy to have a guy like Todd Dillon join their team with a 3-year contract is that he was with the Houston Gamblers in the USFL, and they ran the exact same offense, that run and shoot, so he's very familiar with it. Of course, the terminology will change a little bit, but he's the kind of quarterback they feel can really move this offense.
And the only reason people may not be familiar with the name is because he played behind Jim Kelly, who was the regular quarterback. But this kid played 6 games last year, and in every one of those games, they scored more than 30 points. Oh, look at that. I mean, you can tell he has run this offense, not with this personnel, but certainly the offense, because the moment that Mark Lewis made his cut, the ball was there. He picks up 18 yards.
Yeah, he read it perfectly. He swings Lester Brown out. Now, if the linebacker goes for Lester Brown, that means he goes to the quick post. Now, if the linebacker stays back, he dumps it off to Lester Brown. So they really play a game with the defensive personnel, and you can see how familiar he is with that offense.
First down, Ottawa at the BC 46. See, again, he just dumps it off. This time to Clorindo Grilly, and Grilly is inside the 40 to about the 38. Ty Cruz, the middle linebacker, moved across to make the stop. But again, that's another healthy gain on first down of about 8 yards.
Clorindo Grilly, originally drafted in 1984 by the Edmonton Eskimos, could not make their team, had a year of eligibility left, so he went back to McMaster, played another year, and now, as a free agent, has been able to crack the lineup of the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Have a couple of drinks and say that name 5 times.
No
in a hurry.
way. No, he makes it tough on us.
Second down, 2 yards to go. Todd Dillon is the quarterback. He hands the ball to Lester Brown. Lester gets back to the line of scrimmage, no further. Well, now we're going to have a little pushing match between Kevin Powell and Keith Gooch. I don't like Keith's chances of winning that one.
No.
At about 5'10" and 170 pounds, as opposed to 6'4", 265. Okay, on 3rd and 2, they leave Todd Dillon in.
Well, here's the guy that has to make the play on short yardage. Your middle linebacker, Ty Cruz. He stuffs it to the outside, gets some help from his buddies inside.
Now the Riders at BC is protesting that Peter Vandenbos, who went down on one knee, they suggest that he's not doing it legitimately. And there is no doubt that this is a very poor C-movie acting award. But the Riders had not sent a play in. And consequently, the offense, particularly Todd Dillon, wanted to have a consultation with head coach Joe Moss. Now, how do they decide who's going down on the one knee?
Well, they got the designated diver.
Yeah.
But Peter's down there. Now the trainer comes out and he says, "Peter, you all right?" He says, "Yeah, I'm fine. How's the crowd taking it?"
Ross Francis comes into the ball game. Peter Vandenbos, he's recovered. He's going to be all right.
I suggest he could do the 4.840 running off the field right now.
Well, this is a big play here again. It's 3rd down, 2 yards to go for the first down. Ottawa at the BC 38. Dillon looks. Oh, look. What a terrific hit. What a great hit by Darnell Clash. But even more impressive is the fact that Mark Lewis held onto the ball. And if you really want to get in to the complimentary remarks, how about the pass?
Great throw, and of course you can't fool Darnell Clash. 3rd and 2. He's not going to throw the long bomb, but he came up, drilled Mark Lewis, and Mark Lewis has just had a great game.
Yeah. Ross Perrier's had enough of the mouthing from the BC Lions. He just threw the flag.
Objectionable conduct, BC number 40. First down.
BC's James Quick Parker was quick with the lip, and it cost them 10 yards down to the 23-yard line. First down, Ottawa. Well, that one was just slightly underthrown for Todd Lewis. 3 passes do not a career make, but you can tell the guy knows what he's doing with this offensive scheme. Todd Dillon, I'm talking about.
Well, you know, in the University of Cal State, Long Beach, he established 22 school offensive records. So with those kind of credentials and the background he has with that run-and-shoot offense in the USFL with the Houston Gamblers, who, of course, merged with New Jersey, you have to be somewhat excited about his appearing in Ottawa.
Yeah, and at Long Beach State, they throw the football.
Whoa,
so, I mean, we're not talking about a guy that threw 6 passes a year.
No. Good point.
There's a flag down on the field. This is a great defensive play by Larry Crawford. If it stands, he will have 38 career interceptions. That will tie another Norm Fieldgate record for most ever by a Lion. Now, was there interference on the play? And if it was it against BC? Let's see.
Yeah, there's another flag down, too, because when Larry Crawford went out of bounds, somebody took a shot at him, and I'm sure you can have
Defensive pass interference, BC number 28. Objectionable conduct, BC number 28.
Well, I guess it was retaliation when Crawford took the shot, but he's hurt.
Yeah. First of all, let me explain the penalties. There's defensive pass interference called against Larry Crawford. There's also objectionable conduct called against the Lions. So look what this does. It puts Ottawa inside the 10-yard line with a first down and 4 minutes and 56 seconds left in the third quarter of a ball game that the Lions lead by 11.
Larry Crawford's still down on the field, and that means number 7, Bernie Gleer, gets back into the lineup. And boy, there's been a lot of injuries to the defensive backs tonight. The record for Larry Crawford will have to wait.
Yeah, it'll wait. And he made a super play on the ball. He jumped, made the catch. Actually, it was a pretty good pass. It was just barely underthrown. And Larry's all right, and he's walking off under his own steam. He's been a great player since coming to Canada. Hard to believe, 6 years ago from Iowa State.
Well, he played his option out at one point and went to the San Diego Chargers, I believe, and couldn't catch on. Went to them in '84, couldn't catch on, came back to the BC Lions, and they welcomed him with open arms once again. And he's a great player and a great guy, too, fun to chat with.
Yeah. And there's no, you know, people can't say, well, he didn't make it down there. There are situations which create you not being able to make the play.
Oh, that's so true.
Dillon's pass, he drilled it right in to the arms of, let's see, who is that?
I think it's Glenn Jackson, number 37, the outside linebacker. But, well, that's a couple of passes already that he just seems to have a little bit of tunnel vision, picks out his one receiver, and then doesn't really see what the defense is doing. There's Glenn Jackson stepping in front and could have very well had an interception.
Now, I'll tell you, that was not the greatest pass that Todd Dillon has ever thrown in his career. It's second down, still goal to go from the 9-yard line. Dillon this time floats it. Baruch could not get to it. You know what? He may have pulled a hand.
Yeah, I think he did. Boy, he was so open, too. He ran a perfect pass pattern and got the coverage that he wanted, a match the third receiver to the inside. He got the linebacker, Kevin Konar, covering him. Watch him grab his left leg just as he tries to extend for that ball. He couldn't give it that little extra.
I have total sympathy for him. I'll never forget, my son Michael took me out to play touch football with some fellas. I came home with both hamstrings pulled. Couldn't walk for about 6 months.
Now, you don't exactly give the hamstrings too much of a workout.
No, it didn't loosen up too well. So Dean Dorsey will try a 16-yard field goal.
He may hit the Ferris wheel with this one.
It is good. With 4 minutes and 1 second left to play in the third quarter, the Ottawa Rough Riders have cut into that BC Lion lead. It's 21-13. We'll be back in a moment. The Rough Riders are back in the football game. They trail by 8 points with 4 minutes and 1 second left to play in the third quarter.
Yeah, and they need that guy right there, Mark Baruch, in the lineup. He's their big gunner, 5 touchdowns already this year. Have a look one more time. He's stretching. Injured that hamstring.
So the BC Lions start from their 35-yard line. John Henry White makes the one-handed catch of that screen pass. The flag comes down as John Henry gets over the 40 to the 43. Looks like it could be a clipping penalty against the BC Lions. Let's wait and see.
Illegal block, BC number 27.
An illegal block by the BC Lions. Jan Karinci. And so the Lions will be forced back. They have had an awful lot of penalties here in this third quarter.
And Pat, as you know, penalties drive Coach Don Matthews crazy. He called his entire defense together for a quick huddle, and they came off after the last series. He said, I don't know who started it. I don't care what happened. I don't want it going on anymore.
Well, that's a smart move, too, because Don Matthews is the kind of guy that does not want his team to beat itself, and those are the kind of things that do it to you.
Don Matthews was an outstanding defensive coordinator under Huey Campbell at Edmonton. He knows all facets of the game, but if there's one thing he really understands, it's defense. He understands the psyche that goes into making good defensive players. And let's face it, the players know what he's accomplished. When he tells them that, I'll guarantee you they'll settle down.
And they like him.
Yeah, they do like him. Lions are back to their 25-yard line. 1st and 20. John Henry White, well, just as well he didn't make the catch because he would have been zapped immediately.
Oh, and he took a tremendous hit from number 76, Lloyd Lewis, came in with the pressure, but it was the old KG veteran, number 66, Greg Marshall, that really made the play. He read the screen, he got the big arms up. Roy DeWalt had to pull the ball back, and the play was over.
I think it's Roy that's down.
Yeah, oh no, Roy is down. James Curry's a little down, but watch the hands go up. There's 66, Grant Marshall on your screen. He wants to throw the ball, but he just can't. He has to pull it back, then it's too late. Takes a shot right in the ribs from number 76, Lloyd Lewis. Here it comes. The helmet goes right in there. Oh, 78 came from behind, too. James Curry, that was probably the hit that really did it.
And some bad news. We got some bad news on the Ottawa bench, too. It looks like Mark Bruce is gone for the game. He has a badly pulled hamstring. Still with the medical report, linebacker Al Washington has stomach cramps.
Yeah, I can't remember a game where more people have gone down. 23,000 and change here at Lansdowne Park tonight.
Well, one of the luxuries that the BC Lions do have is an extremely capable backup quarterback in number 11, Tim Cowan. How many times have we seen him come off the bench, whether it be due to an injury to Roy DeWalt or in relief, and just have some outstanding games? Pat, you and I remember last year in Hamilton. Oh, wow. He and Jim Sandusky just put on a clinic.
I think he was the offensive star of the week that week.
Yeah, I know he was the star of the... Well,
he was certainly the star of the game. No, yeah. He was certainly the star of the game.
Sure he would have been.
And so he gets a chance to play, but unfortunately it's at the expense of Roy DeWalt. But Roy appears to be all right now as he leaves the playing field, walking off under his own steam.
And James Curry's got a bit of a headache from sticking his helmet in there, too. James with the Skycap business in Las Vegas. I think this is a little more profitable.
That Craig Songy was a class act there. He just walked over and obviously said something comforting to Roy DeWalt. So Cowan with his first play hands off to Keevan Jenkins. And Ricky Barton was blocked to the outside. Consequently, when Jenkins made his cut, he ran right into Barton.
Well, Barton really strung the play out. He fought the block to the outside, and he said, the only way Keevan Jenkins, if he's going to get around me, it's going to be back into the middle where I'm going to get a little help from the rest of my defense. You watch number 25 at the top of your screen, Ricky Barton. He's really played an excellent game on defense tonight. He's blocked, force him back to the inside, force him back. Now Keevan says, well, I'm going to go wide. There's Steve Harrison with some help. Good defense. Ottawa's played well tonight defensively. A couple of bad breaks with the turnovers.
Well, don't look now, but they're going to have the ball somewhere around their own 50-yard line. We've got 2.5 minutes plus left here in the third quarter, and they're only trailing by 8 points.
Yeah, you can hear a buzz in the crowd. Yeah. They can sense that good field position could result in something here.
This is Mark Lewis. Makes a nice cut and gets to the 50-yard line. Well, it's going to be a fun place at BC Stadium Thursday next when the Calgary Stampeders come to town. Stampeders really an improved football team, as evidenced by the fact they're in a tie with Edmonton and Winnipeg pending the outcome of tonight's ball game. But, I mean, what a turnaround for Calgary. They won last night. It gives them 8 points, evens their record at 4-4. And if there's a dark horse in the CFL, I think the Stampeders may surprise even more so down the stretch. Dillon throws, looking for Grilly. Neat little defensive play by Mel Bird. Undetected. He just gave him a little push with his left arm.
You know, Clorendo Grilly, as a matter of fact, is going to learn when he gets a little more experience. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? But, you know, when he saw that ball being overthrown by a little bit, you can't keep watching the football. You've got to put your head down, pump those arms, and run hard for 2 or 3 more steps to get that little extra speed. Then put your head up and try and make the catch. But when you watch that football all the way leaving the quarterback's hand, you can't run at full speed.
Well, that's something that I suspect he'll learn with time.
Oh, yeah.
If given time. First sack of his CFL career registered against Todd Dillon by Bernie Jones. Well, let's make it Benny.
I think he'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Benny Jones, I thought we'd see him a little more in the first half, but really tonight what they planned to do was to go with 5 defensive linemen. You know, they've come east. It's a little muggier here than it probably is in Vancouver. They got the 3-hour time difference. So in order to keep everybody fresh, Don Matthews told us that Benny Jones would be inserted in there for that pass rush.
Not to knock other CFL coaches, but it seems to me that Matthews is prepared in everything he does. He knows he always prepares for the uncertain things that can happen. He's a great football coach. And this is a good kick by Kenny Clark. He's forced Darnell Clash right to the sideline. Darnell picks it up at the 19 and then is forced out.
Well, that's a great job by the 14-year veteran Kenny Clark. Outstanding punt with no return.
Well, there are a lot of junior football games going on across Canada. There's a look at some of them. If they're in your area, why don't you make sure to take it in? So the BC Lions will start from their 21-yard line with 1:26 left. That was a good defensive stand for them because the Rough Riders could kind of sense that they were getting back in this game. They trailed by 8, but BC just stuffed them. Tim Cowan in relief of Roy DeWalt, who was banged up the last series of plays. The inside handoff is to Keevan Jenkins, but he's tripped up, and Ottawa really seems to be coming on. Greg Marshall with the play. The loss will be about 3.
Tim Cowan, not overly impressive so far in 1986 in limited playing ability. Really only thrown 43 passes, completed 19 for a 44% completion rate. 3 interceptions and still looking for his first touchdown pass.
And backed up now to his 18-yard line where he has 2nd and 13. Well, he threw that one looking for Sandusky, but you know what, Leaf? He had to readjust the way he was going to throw the football. He had to deliver it more sidearm than over the top because of the rush.
Yeah, that's a good point. You really picked it out well. So once again, a good defensive stand by the Ottawa Rough Riders, and as they did the last time they had the football on offense, they should start around midfield.
And Leaf, the Lions will go the rest of the game without slot back Jan Karinci. He has pulled quadriceps. He did it on a kickoff.
Oh, they are sore, too. You get those, and that's a very tender area.
But, I mean, you have to be very concerned if you're both these coaches. These guys are dropping like flies.
Well, about the only thing you hope for is it's an import, so they're easier to get in.
Butts takes it at the 54-yard line and then backs up to his own 54. So he'll actually lose a yard or 2, depending upon where they spot it. Paul Nastasiuk, number 36, was down as you take a look at Jan Karinci. A Toronto boy who went to Maryland and ended up having a fine career there. I saw him play in a postseason bowl game where he was really outstanding.
Territorial pick by the Argonauts in 1981, and I'm sure, as everybody knows across Canada, part of the big trade this year that took him to the BC Lions.
Todd Dillon fires it out to Lester Brown, and there's a play that Ottawa hasn't used, I don't believe, tonight, but we saw them previously this year where they just chewed up the defense doing so. But there's the gun to signify the end of the third quarter of play. It's the BC Lions 21, the Ottawa Rough Riders 13. We'll return with the fourth quarter in a moment. This is back into quarterback the Rough Riders. But if he gets hit many more times like that, we're going to see Todd Dillon again, because Larry Crawford was one of many who was there.
Well, anytime you get something generated on offense, you can count on the BC Lion defense coming after you. That time, Larry Crawford on a safety blitz picked up his second sack of the year.
Look how close the Rough Riders are in net yardage to the Lions. But they've turned the ball over 4 times, and that really is the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, it has. You know, 2 of those turnovers were directly responsible for 10 points from the BC Lions. And, of course, with BC ahead 21-13, that really is the difference.
They didn't have a first down in that quarter. Nobody over on the coverage. And look at this. Reggie Bucks is inside the 10-yard line. He was out there like it was a sleeper play. There was absolutely no one on the coverage. It was 3rd down and 6 yards to go. And Ottawa comes up with a big play.
Well, they left Tom Burgess in the game as an up back, and BC didn't realize that. Ken Clark was standing back there, but Burgess stepped in quickly, took the snap from center, and hit a wide-open Reggie Butts down the sidelines. 41 yards later. Now, you talk about trick plays at work. That's one of the best I've ever seen.
To be honest with you, I wasn't even aware of what was going on.
Well, I'll tell you who else wasn't, too, was BC Lion defense.
Ottawa has the ball just inside the Lions' 10-yard line.
Well, that's the kind of play that the fans at Lansdowne Park, I'm sure, wish they had a scoreboard that showed replays, because I'm sure they still don't know what happened.
Well, Ty Cruz was talking to referee Ross Perrier. Now Larry Crawford is over there talking to 2 other officials. They still haven't figured out what's happened, and I'll be honest, neither have I. Tell me again how it developed.
Well, Ken Clark was back to kick, and Tom Burgess stayed in as an up back, and they just didn't realize he took the snap from center and threw it out to Reggie Butts.
I mean, we replay everything, but we don't replay that one.
Well,
Burgess, under a tremendous amount of pressure, just actually threw the ball away.
it's big number 78, Walter Ballard, the right defensive end for the BC Lions, who Don Matthews said yesterday was probably the unsung hero of that team so far this year. The big statistics are not there, only 3 sacks, but he has really been making plays like this all year long, and this will not go up in the defensive statistics really, other than a knockdown pass, but he does his job.
I think I mentioned it. If I did not, the Lions did not have a first down in the 3rd quarter. And now back in is Todd Dillon. Dillon throws. And the Riders are down to about the 2-yard line because Clorindo Grilly made the catch and made a good run to get down that close. Now it's 3rd down again.
Well, he had to dump it off. He had no one downfield. Clorindo Grilly does the best he can, but he just can't get into the end zone with that swarming defense. Well, what do you do?
Well, you see, in this instance, I would go for the field goal, but they're going to go for the touchdown. That's why I guess when I keep applying for head coaching jobs, I never get them.
They don't return the phone calls.
No.
Well, it's got the crowd buzzing, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. 3rd and goal from the 2. Burgess in at quarterback. Looks, throws, no good.
Mike Hudson couldn't hang on to it in the end zone. Look at Keith Gooch. He's happy. He covered him like a blanket.
Well, we'll come back and talk about that play with the BC Lions leading at 21-13. We're going to break away for a moment.
Well, here's the 3rd down gamble. Tom Burgess looking for Mike Hudson deep in the end zone. He makes a great effort to come up with it, but, well, that would have been an unbelievable catch. Kind of interesting, though, Pat, you and I were talking at the commercial break why early in the game you don't go for it. Now, when you got a sure 3 points, you decide to go for it. I don't know.
Roy DeWalt is back in at quarterback. The handoff goes to Keevan Jenkins. And, boy, Keevan did a nice job running that football. If he doesn't have the first down, he's very close to it.
Well, he just keeps bouncing off tackles. Initially designed to go off right tackle. behind big Brian Illebrun, but it's all stacked up. There's Rick Sovieta, 75, blocking it up, but Kevan bounces it to the outside, and that's really a big play when you're backed up. You know, he's so close to a first down, they need a measurement, but when you're backed up like that, you sure as heck want to be able to run the football.
Well, for all the fans in BC who, you know, didn't have an opportunity of joining us at the start of the ball game, it was 4-0 Lions after the first quarter, 18-10 BC at the half. It's 21-13 right now with 12 minutes and 47 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter, and that probably is the most important statistic next to the score. 5 turnovers by Ottawa, none by the Lions. It is a first down, BC. The ball is outside their 12. DeWalt took his time, but then fired over the head of John Pankratz.
Smart throw, too. Nobody open, put it up in the first row.
Lions have, prior to that first down, had gone the entire third quarter and then a couple of minutes here in the fourth without a first down. They need another one right now because Ottawa's really coming on defensively. DeWalt read it, quickly fired, and completes it to Pankratz. Excuse me. That is number 34, Scott Leckie, and Leckie makes a big catch for the Lions and gives them a first down out to the 24-yard line.
Darryl Hall read that play initially, but he just didn't have the quickness to get up there and stop it short of that first down marker.
Catch again by Scott Leckie, and the Guelph University graduate is over the 35 to the 38-yard line. It'll be another first down. Treg Songi made the tackle for the Rough Riders.
Scott Leckie, the 4th pick in the 1986 draft for the BC Lions, and you know, in the Canadian Football League draft, when you get somebody as good as Scott Leckie in the 4th round, you've done a good job scouting.
Well, Leaf and I were talking to Scott before the ball game, and he said that first of all, it was a thrill being drafted by the Lions, but he tried as hard as he could, but he didn't think he'd make the club. Now he's made it, and he really is in 7th heaven living in Vancouver. The 3rd straight pass intended for Scott Leckie. He made a valiant try for that one, but it just bounced off his hands. Born in New York City, but grew up in Collingwood and is a graduate of Guelph University.
Just could not hang on, gave it a great try. Of course, he's in the game because Jan Carinci injured, pulled quadricep muscles. Jan had a couple of touchdowns before he had to leave the game, but a great opportunity for young Scott Leckie to get some playing time and some experience.
Lions have done a great job moving this ball out from the shadow of their goalposts. They have a second down again, however. DeWalt throws. Look at this. Wide open is Kevan Jenkins. And Kevan is finally forced out. But a big play as Mike McIntyre, who had to come from the safety spot, gets over there to force him out of bounds, but he picks up 42 yards.
How about the block by number 21, John Pankratz, to really turn him loose? He gets the block on number 36, Treg Songi, right there, and boy, it's clear sailing for Kevan Jenkins. Boy, that's such a plus if you get the rest of the receiving corps trying their hardest to make an extra block to spring somebody loose.
10:40 left to play in the fourth quarter. 8-point lead for the Lions on the move at the Ottawa 32. DeWalt throws. Oh, good catch at about the 10 or 11-yard line. The reception made by Jim Sandusky.
Sandusky's one of those Brian Kelly type receivers, and very meticulous, excellent moves, good footwork on his patterns. That time against the newcomer Treg Songi, number 36, the cornerback. He ran a post corner, took him 3 steps into the middle and broke back to the corner, completely turned him around, and Roy DeWalt threw a strike.
Well, the Lions continue to lead it 21-13, but they're banging on the door for more. We'll find out how they make out when we come back in a moment. The Tom Burgess is the man who was in the last series. But right now, let's concentrate on that BC Lions offense. They have possession of the football at the Ottawa 11-yard line. with a first down.
Well, I know you're excited.
Well, it's been a really good football game. And 23,000 are enjoying it here. And the Ottawa fans will enjoy that one because they were able to contain Kevan Jenkins after a pickup of only a yard or two.
Not a bad call down there to go to the drop play. Of course, Ottawa defense probably expecting pass on that situation.
So with the ball at the 9-yard line, Roy DeWalt needs a big play here if he wants to increase that 8-point margin. He's not going to do it. Lloyd Lewis, number 76, is there to record the sack for the Ottawa Rough Riders, and James Curry was there too. But the Rough Riders dodge yet another bullet. But it'll bring Louis Pasaglia back out onto the field. Louis had a couple of short field goals tonight, and this one will just be a chip shot for him as well from 27 yards out.
And what an opportune time for their fourth sack.
It is good. The BC Lions lead it by 11 once again with 9 minutes and 23 seconds left to play in this fourth quarter.
Pat, the question I was asking myself down here was, why musical quarterbacks?
Yeah,
so
and
I put it to the Ottawa coaching staff. They won't tell us. So I asked several members of the defensive troops for the BC Lions, and they don't know either. They say both throw pretty much the same, and they're running the same plays.
And I see that Todd Dillon has come out for this series. Well, mind you, Leo did it with Joe Theismann and Greg Barton for a couple of games.
Next Friday night, the Ottawa Rough Riders, doesn't get any easier for them. They have to travel to Winnipeg to play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Dale Isaac, Frank Rigney, Al McCann, they'll be along to bring you all the action from that game. Friday Night Football on CTV.
Dillon's pass, Grilly's got it. Florindo Grilly is inside the BC 45-yard line to about the 43. Well, this is a youngster who's starting his first game for the Rough Riders, and you had to know he'd be nervous. The first two plays he completely botched up, but watch this one.
Well, excellent concentration. That's the matchup they want. A middle linebacker covering a 4'6", 40 inside receiver, Florindo Grilly, and he makes a nice catch. And Todd Dillon, doesn't really matter who's in a quarterback for the Rough Riders tonight. They're getting a pretty good job.
Well, that one was really misread by the quarterback-receiver combination because Reggie Butts made his cut, and
yeah, I somehow suspect that Reggie Butts went the right way and Todd Dillon just threw the ball to the wrong spot because they had Lester Brown streaking downfield along the sidelines, and that would open it up for Reggie Butts to come back into the middle. Well, that's what happens. You got a new quarterback. He's only been in about 3-4 days, and yeah, I think he's performing pretty well for that amount of time.
He has a 2nd and 10 at the moment from the 43-yard line of the Lions. The escape valve was Lester Brown on that play, but unfortunately for Todd Dillon, he threw the ball too high for him to get it.
Yeah, that's the tough part of the run and shoot offense to the short side of the field rather. They only have 2 receivers, so if the guy going deep's covered, you've got to dump it off to the short guy, and that's, of course, what the BC Lions wanted him to do. You know, I've never been nuts about this offense and a come-from-behind kind of offense. I don't know. It's great to establish something early in the game, but I like the more conventional drop back where you get to use more of the field.
We've got Tom Burgess back again as, well, I don't know, what is he? He's the quarterback, I know, but behind him, we've got Kenny Clark.
Well, the BC Lions defense is not going to be fooled this time. They've covered.
Glenn Jackson is coming limping off the field.
So now you know what Don Matthews has done. He's put his entire defense back on the field instead of the punt return team, and they're just going to have to try and pick out a guy. And well, I don't know what they're going to do. So you try and be the color commentator on this play.
Well, Ken Clark is going to punt the football.
Maybe.
No, he's not. Oh, Lewis had the ball in his hands at the 25, and he dropped it. I mean, that was well executed, and Mark Lewis has made 7 catches tonight for 148 yards, but he couldn't come up with this one.
You know, the beauty of this is if there's real pressure, he can still flip it back to Ken Clark, and he can punt it on the run if he has to. He chose to throw, of course, to Mark Lewis, and he should have had it. Simple as that.
7:43 left in the ball game. BC 24, Ottawa 13.
They're sure putting a new dimension in the kicking game tonight.
Well, of course, they're terrified to kick it to Darnell Flash.
Maybe that's it.
Cowan is back in the ball game for the Lions at quarterback. He hands the ball off to Kevan Jenkins. And there was a late hit there by Mike McIntyre.
Yeah, I was sure a flag was going to fly there, but they chose to let it pass by.
Kevan picked up about 4 yards. It's 2nd and 6. Well, we've had, 4 quarterbacks play in the game. We've had all kinds of injuries. We've had some really exciting plays. And right now we've got John Pankratz picking up a first down for the Lions into Ottawa territory at about the 51-yard line.
Darrell Hall and Ricky Barton are just having a little conversation on their coverage there because they both got fooled with Jim Sandusky breaking to the inside, and then they just dump with the Pankratz. There you see the defensive signals going in. Joe Moss, Bob Swift behind him, the offensive line coach.
Ted Heath, the defensive line coach. Well, these Lions are really fighting now, though. They're, they can smell their 7th victory of the year. A guy like John Henry White, really tough in the old crunch. He comes through every time.
Well, this is the nice thing about a veteran club. They've won a Grey Cup. They've played well for many, many years now. And when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, these guys can come through for you.
Lions have the ball at the Ottawa 40-yard line. The handoff is to John Henry. And White is inside the 30 to about the 28-yard line, and he should have another BC first down, and does.
Well, he broke the tackle of number 34, Steve Harrison. Picked up a first down. John Henry, we told you earlier, last week, his first 100-yard rushing game of his career.
Let's go to Dan.
Pat, Roy DeWall is sitting on the bench, and they were looking at his back earlier when he got sandwiched, but right now he has a sprained thumb in his throwing hand.
Boy, it really has been a very, very injury-riddled game. Cowan's pass over the head of the intended receiver, Scott Leckie.
Well, these guys, the big horses out there, are really slow to get up now after every play. They've been really doing some head banging on those offensive and defensive lines. Brian Hillebrand, 61, he's limping back to the huddle. Boy, Illy's been around a long time. Let me just double-check him.
Well, you must have played
9 years. Oh, yeah, I played with him in Saskatchewan. He was a product of the Regina Junior Rams. Came up with Bob Poley. Bob now the center with Calgary Stampeders.
It's 2nd down and 10 yards to go from the 28-yard line. John Henry White. He was grabbed from behind by James Curry as he got to about the 25-yard line. And what he's done, he's moved the ball right in the middle of the field, and we will see Louis Passaglia to see if he can make it a 14-point game.
Somewhat unusual call maybe on 2nd down, but I guess they wanted to make sure that they didn't commit a turnover, give Louis a chance to add to their lead.
Well, he's tried 3 field goals tonight from 11 yards, from 13, and from 27. He's been good on all of them. This one will come from about 33 yards.
Brian Hillebrand, we told you he was limping on the last play. I guess it took its toll now because he's down and doesn't look too happy. Regina Rams, boy, they had a lot of guys come into the CFL. Steve Mazurek, who was a fine receiver, now the executive director of the Canadian Football League Players Association, came up from the Rams. Roger Aldag, Regina Rams.
Well, Brian is a healthy-looking specimen at 6'4" and 280 pounds.
Yeah.
Just as soon not have him fall on you.
No, he hasn't missed any meals.
A lot of us could say the same thing. Pasaglia's field goal will come from the 33-yard line. And it hits the upright. The Ottawa fans are excited about it. The Lions obviously aren't, because the score holds at 24-13 in favor of BC, and we'll be back in just a moment.
300 million Europeans are enslaved behind the barbed wire of the Iron Curtain. Today's Soviet communists have invaded Afghanistan just as the Nazis blitzkrieged Poland. This August 23rd, citizens throughout Canada and the Western world will remember the Soviet-Nazi Friendship Pact. Wear a black ribbon on August 23rd to honor those who have lost their precious freedom and to cherish ours. Help promote peace with freedom. For more details, watch your local newspaper.
The Ottawa Rough Riders get the football back with 4 minutes and 45 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter. Tomorrow and Sunday, here on CTV, the best men's tennis players in the world competing the Players International Men's Tennis. You'll see the action live on CTV starting at 1 o'clock tomorrow and Sunday. Ottawa first down from the 25-yard line. Flag is down. Dillon delivers to Lester Brown. Lester gets out to the 34.
Holding, Ottawa number 68.
But as you heard, Nick Benjamin was called for holding, so it'll come back.
Well, this is the stage where you just cannot have any kind of penalty to retard your progress down the field. 4 minutes, 25 seconds remaining. They've got to have good things happen to them, not penalties.
So they're backed up now to their 15-yard line.
Robert Reed, number 19, a reserve slotback, checks into the game with, I'm sure, a play for new quarterback Todd Gillen. Dillon, rather? Marshall Dillon. Maybe that's what I'm going to call him now. Marshall Dillon.
Darnell Clash was just waiting for that one. That's an easy interception for Darnell, because Dillon simply didn't get the ball to a breaking Mark Lewis. Darnell Clash just moved in underneath it, made the interception, and you can turn out the lights.
Yeah, you know, if you're going to throw that kind of a pass, you really have to put some steam on it or lead him downfield. He just kind of threw up a floater, and that was Darnell Clash's 4th interception of 1986, and quite an easy one for him.
It's funny, Ottawa has been able to contain Clash tonight on the punt return simply because they won't kick the football to him.
How about this guy, though? In 3 years from Wyoming, he's the all-time leading punt returner in BC Lion history. He was all-Western, all-Canadian in 1985. Has 4 interceptions so far this year. You know what I always found interesting is when he became the all-time leading punt returner, he surpassed Larry Crawford's record, and Larry Crawford was a fabulous punt returner in his own right when he was doing it.
Darnell was looking for his 5th straight 100-yard punt return night. Of course, he's not going to get it. Let's keep our fingers crossed right now that he is not seriously injured. This is the 2nd time now that he's left the ball game with what obviously is an injured knee.
I can assure you he will not be back tonight.
Tim Cowan in relief of Roy DeWalt, who was injured in the 3rd quarter, came back for moments here in the 4th, but he's back out of the game again. This one is picked off by Ricky Barden. Barden is inside the 40 to the 38-yard line. 62 yards, the interception returned by Ricky Barden. And look out, they're back in the game.
Well, I think
a touchdown.
Tim Cowan might have wished he hadn't checked off an audible to a different play, because Ricky Barden was just laying in the weeds waiting for that ball. That's his 1st interception, surprisingly enough, of 1986. But, oh, what a big one it may turn out to be.
It's the 1st turnover by the Lions tonight. Tom Burgess delivers. It's complete to Grilly. And he's down to about the 31-yard line. That'll leave Ottawa a good 3 yards short of the 1st down. With 3 minutes and 7 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter, BC leads Ottawa 24-13. We'll be back in a moment. 13, Ottawa with possession of the football at the BC 30-yard line. It's second down, 3 yards to go. You know now that Ottawa is playing 3-down football. They trail 24-13. So let's see what happens on 2nd and 3. Lester Brown is inside the 25 to the 24-yard line. First down, Rough Riders. Keith Gooch was there to cut him down at that point.
Well, he really made a good cut to get back inside middle linebacker Ty Cruz and Lester Brown. You know, every team, they keep trying to get rid of him, but Lester keeps coming back and playing well. Watch the cut right here. Ty Cruz overruns the play a little bit, gets blocked pretty well, though.
Ottawa first down at the BC 24. The pass is caught by Grilly at the 10-yard line. You know, young Clorindo Grilly has now made his 6th catch of the night for 73 yards. There was another Ottawa receiver that wore 26, a fellow by the name of Whit Tucker.
Well, he runs a good pattern there.
Yeah,
Look,
he does.
He gets Nelson Martin's hips turned, and that's what you want to do to a defensive back. But how about the courage of Tom Burgess? He had Glenn Jackson breathing down his neck and stepped up and threw a strike.
From the 10-yard line, Burgess on the roll, throws, and it's complete again to Grilly. Inside the 5 to the 4. Now, the Lions obviously don't want to give up any points, but they're making Ottawa work for them, and at the same time, the clock is moving. And should the Rough Riders score a touchdown here, it's going to be very difficult for them to get the ball back because they need more than one touchdown. It's 24-13. The flag is down, and so is Burgess back at the 19-yard line. Boy, Ty Cruz came from a long way to chase him down. Let's see what the penalty marker's about.
Well, I can tell you, interference on number 10, Mel Bird. He absolutely drilled Clorindo Grilly when he was coming across the field, and no question about that.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, BC number 10. First down.
Not too much escapes the eye of the spy.
No, we'll have a look at old Clorindo here. This is welcome night because he's going to take a forearm right to the chops. Here it comes. Bang. Hello. But you pay the price for the team. You take a shot and get a first down.
The ball's at the 2-yard line with 1:47 left in the ball game. Lester Brown does not get in.
Well, that's unfortunate because on the Ottawa Rough Rider side, you want to score as quickly as you can because there's 1:44 remaining. You want to get that touchdown as fast as possible and then make your choice about what you want to do with the kickoff.
Well, Lester got to the 1-yard line.
Well, you watch big number 32, Jim Reed. Wherever he goes, I bet you the ball goes.
Well, it's true. Lester Brown in for the touchdown. That makes it 24-19. Now you got to go for the 2 points because you'll cut it back to 3 then.
Pretty good surge by the offensive line of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Roger Catlin, Nick Benjamin along that right side. A good lead block from 32, Jim Reed, and Lester Brown gets into the end zone.
His second touchdown tonight.
Well, it was that big 62-yard interception by Ricky Barton that set the whole thing up.
1:28 left to play in the fourth quarter. BC leading it at the moment by 5 points, but Ottawa to go for a 2-point conversion. Tom Burgess looks, throws. No good. Grilly was the intended receiver. The pass was a little bit low.
Well, you're going to have a look. It would have been a good catch, but you know, doggone it, you've got to come up with these in crucial spots. I know it would have been tough, but I really do think that's a catchable ball.
Well, but look at this now. The Ottawa crowd really applauding the Rough Riders, despite the fact that in all probability they're going to lose the football game, but they've been entertained tonight.
Oh, this has been an extremely entertaining game.
And I think that's what the fan is saying. Look, I don't mind paying my money, but entertain me. And now, tonight, they were entertained by some big, big plays by both clubs. (24-19), BC leads it. Kevan Jenkins and Jim Sandusky are back. But obviously that doesn't mean anything because Ottawa now, with only 1:28 on the clock, has to try the short kickoff. Ottawa lost the game here to the Montreal Alouettes a couple of weeks back when the Owls scored 2 touchdowns very late in the football game. Obviously, the Rough Riders probably feel there'd be retributive justice if they were able to get this kickoff. They can forget about it because the Lions have possession at the Ottawa 48-yard line.
Well, they had the right guys in the ballgame. Number 34, Scott Leckie, and fellows like him that are used to handling the football. And he went high in the air and made a nice catch on the kickoff by Dean Dorsey. He's a smart kid, this Scott Leckie. You know, he's played well this year. I believe in their opening game, he made a nice catch for a touchdown at BC Place and getting a chance to play tonight, which can only help the BC Lions down the road. You get those young guys with experience.
And he is so enthused about being with the Lions, as well he might be. Kevan trying to get outside. Gets to the 43-yard line, but what he does is he chews up some time. And in a couple of seconds, Ross Perrier will blow his whistle, and time will be back in, and it'll be moving. Plus the fact he picked up 6 yards, so another 4 yards, they'll be able to run this clock out. Because Tim Cowan will take his time. He's got 10 seconds to go on the 20-second clock. He's watching it. Lets it get down to 3. Hands the ball off, but Ottawa stops them. The ball carrier was Kevan Jenkins. He gets maybe a yard. Ball is at the 41-yard line with 1:01 left to play in the 4th quarter.
Once again, Brian Hillebrand, number 61, the injured BC Lion. And don't be surprised if Ottawa Rough Riders don't call a timeout here if Louis Pasaglia will let that clock run out and take the penalty, because punting from the Ottawa 40-yard line makes no difference whether he punts from the 40 or the 45.
Well, barring something extremely weird, the BC Lions are going to win their 7th game of the season, but they were in a dogfight tonight. Ottawa deserves lots of credit. They're still far from being in the class of the BC Lions, but Ottawa is coming a little bit.
I shouldn't be talking about punting, because from the 47, he's going to try a field goal. John Pankratz stays in the game to hold for him.
It's wide. And Ricky Barton will let that one go right through the end zone. Ottawa will have a first down at their 35-yard line with 38 seconds left to play.
What a heads-up play by Ricky Barton. Let that ball go through. And actually, they'll get the single, but they'll bring it out to where the ball was snapped, so it comes out to the 40-yard line. This field goal, if it's inside the 35, comes to the 35. If it's outside where it snapped, it comes back to the original line of scrimmage. So Tom Burgess in the ball game has some pretty good room to operate from.
You're right, Leaf. It is back at the 41, because that, of course, was the point of last scrimmage. 38 seconds left. incompleted passes. Burgess was going through the throwing motion, but the Lions really blitzed him on that occasion, wanted to put some pressure on him, and did it.
The 11-year veteran from Simon Fraser, Glenn Jackson, came from the backside on the blitz, fought off the block of Lester Brown, and got in for the pressure.
Glenn Jackson, to me, really epitomizes BC football. I mean, he's played hard every game that he's ever worn the uniform. He's really been successful, as the franchise has been for the last number of years. That was Jackson again. Now, Mike Gray will be called for a face masking penalty, but the man who made that play was a blitzing Glenn Jackson.
It sure was. You know, I honestly believe that...
Major foul, face mask, BC number 77.
I honestly believe that Michael Gray did not do that intentionally. You know, Tom Burgess tried to duck underneath him, and that was just what Michael Gray was able to grab onto, and I don't think it was intentional at all.
But what it does is it moves the yardsticks for the Rough Riders, and look where it puts the ball, at midfield.
15 big ones.
With 29 seconds left. Ottawa's trailing 25-19. The screen is set up for Jim Reed. He did not get out of bounds. He got to the BC 45-yard line.
Nice play, but I think you want number 21, Lester Brown, running the football instead of Jim Reed at this stage of the game, because you need that speed, number 1, to get moving, and number 2, to get out of bounds and stop that clock.
Lions have called a timeout, as signaled by referee Ross Perrier. That comes with 22 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter. Well, here's the situation. Ottawa's down by 6 points. They have second down, about a yard to go at the BC 45-yard line. 22 seconds left on the clock, and that's an eternity in the CFL. A very, very good football game. Close all the way. 4-0 at the end of the first quarter. 18-10 at the half. 21-13, all in favor of BC. And now, there it is with 22 seconds left on the clock.
Well, I sure have been impressed with both teams tonight.
Yeah, and so have the 23,000-plus fans here at Lansdowne Park.
I think it's encouraging to see young Tom Burgess develop tonight. The heat was on. Todd Dillon could be the quarterback of the future for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Of course, the valuable backup experience that the BC Lions have in Tim Cowan, although he did not have a super outstanding game, he was able to come in and not make any errors.
Except one.
Yeah, well, the one
he threw to Ricky Barden.
Well, it's deep down and downfield, you know, and that's the kind of interception that you really are not going to lose any sleep over, I don't think.
Well, let's see what this little conversation is about. Ross Perrier blew his whistle immediately. Now he's going to have a little huddle with his other officials. Ottawa's let this clock run down to 13 seconds before they snap the ball. Well, that really is the inexperience of this football team. Todd Burgess is back at center field. You've just finished a timeout. You let 6 seconds run off the clock before you snap the ball. There is no reason why they shouldn't have been at the line of scrimmage immediately.
I can hardly comment. I'm flabbergasted. You know, it's wild. You can't do that. 5th sack for the BC Lions, Glenn Jackson.
Well, this is a real duck. And Mel Bird could not hang on, but it really won't make any difference because the British Columbia Lions have increased their CFL leading stature by recording their 7th victory of the 1986 campaign, beating the Ottawa Rough Riders 25-19. CTV's Friday Night Football will continue in a moment. And now the Carling O'Keefe Sports offensive and defensive game stars as selected by our broadcast crew. From the British Columbia Lions, inside receiver Jan Karinci is the offensive star. And from the Lions, linebacker Ty Cruz is the defensive star. Each of tonight's stars will receive a Royal Canadian Mint 1 ounce solid gold coin presented by Nikon. For once-in-a-lifetime shots, the Nikon Touch, the simplest Nikon 35mm ever. Get the Nikon One Touch. And by Tilly, bringing together quality and creativity in all of their products. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
Game as the Ottawa Rough Riders lose their fifth, 25-19. Stats pretty even, except in the turnovers column. Riders give up the ball 7 times. They remain 4 points behind Eastern leading Toronto in the standings, while in the Western Football Conference, the BC Lions are really starting to run away with this, 7-1. They have 14 points and a 6-point bulge on everybody else. Once again, our final tonight, BC wins 25-19. There's our next telecast a week tonight. Ottawa at Winnipeg. This program is copyright and is strictly intended for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the CTV television network is strictly prohibited.
This is the CTV Television Network.
Both the hometown Eskimos and visiting Winnipeg Blue Bombers shared identical 4-2 records, second place in the Western Conference. But tonight the Eskimos showed that they are definitely number 2 alone as they smashed the Bombers 33-5.
First time the Eskimos touched the ball, a minute 30 into the game. Tom Richards gathers in a Winnipeg punt and rambles 77 yards upfield and into the end zone for the touchdown, and the Eskimos are up 7-0. On the next series of downs, the Yes aren't so lucky. Dunnigan goes deep but is picked off by Roy Bennett. But the Bombers unable to move the ball the entire first half. Stu Hill sacks Clements for a loss. Hill playing the line tonight for the 3rd straight game. Later in the first quarter, Dunnigan goes deep again, this time hitting Stefan Jones, who hauls in a 41-yard pass, and the Yes are on the Bomber 3-yard line. One play later, Dunnigan takes it himself, and the Eskimos are in front 14-0. Not much offense in the second quarter. Tom Dixon hits on a field goal from 47 yards. He also kicked a single. Winnipeg kicked 2 of them, and it was 18-2 at the half. The Eskimos get a break early in the third quarter. The Bombers fumble the Eskimo punt. Daryl Sampson can't handle it, and Steve Howlett makes the recovery. But one good turnover deserves another as Wiley Turner picks off Dunnigan deep in Winnipeg territory, but the Bombers again can't take advantage of it. Later in the quarter, Gary Thompson will strip the ball on the Winnipeg 10-yard line, and the Eskimos are threatening deep in Bomber territory once again. But on 3rd and goal, electing to gamble, Dunnigan is pressured and can't hit Brian Kelly in the end zone. Later in the quarter, Tom Tuinei chases Clemens down in the end zone for a safety. It's 22 Edmonton. The clubs exchange field goals before the end of the third, and it's 23-5 after 45 minutes. In the fourth quarter, a few more nails in the coffin. It's 26-5 Eskimos when Dunnigan airs it out to Marco Sinkar, who gets away with some interference on this play and brings the ball to the Bomber 14-yard line. A few plays later, Chris Johnston goes over from 3 yards out, and the Eskimos go on to record their 5th victory of the season by a score of 33-5 Winnipeg.
Tonight, the Hamilton Tiger Cats won their 2nd game of the season, only their 2nd. They beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders 23-21. That win puts Hamilton into 2nd place with Montreal, Ottawa in the Eastern Conference, which of course doesn't say much for the CFL Eastern Conference, does it?
The offenses were cold on a hot night. Bernie Ruoff, though, worked up a sweat. He had a field goal and 3 singles in the first half. This one covered 69 yards. It was 6-6 at halftime. Ken Hobart replaced Mike Kerrigan at quarterback to start the second half. Right away, he got the offense going. This play covered 42 yards to Steve Stapler out at the 3, but the Ticats couldn't punch it over. Walter Bender was stopped on a third down gamble. Still in the third quarter, the Ticats came back knocking on the door. 2 Rough Rider penalties moved the Ticats down to the 4-yard line. This pass interference play covered 47 yards. And from the 4, Ken Hobart on the quarterback draw, touchdown. Hamilton led it 13-6. Less than 2 minutes later, though, the Riders tied it up. Joe Pow with a bullet. Look at this thing. 34 yards to Tony Dennis, and it was 13-13. We'll pick it up late in the game, less than 2 minutes to play. Score tie 20-20. Pow's pass intercepted by Mark Streeter at the 50, and he returns it all the way to the 25-yard line. Then, with 58 seconds to play, Bernie Ruoff, who had 16 points in the night, kicks a 28-yard field goal. Ticats go ahead 23-20. The Riders' last gasp. Here it is. Dave Ridgway's 47-yard field goal attempt. It's wide. Ticats concede a single point. The Ticats win this 23-21.
Former United States Football League.
A bid on the Summer Olympic Games in 1996. Tonight, a group of corporate sponsors, as well as city and metro officials, unveiled their plans. They call for a games that would be spread over a wide area of southern Ontario, with Toronto at the core, and would pay for themselves. Mark Sickstrom reports.
The 1984 Summer Games in Los Angeles created a surplus of more than $250 million, and profit has been an Olympic ideal ever since. A group of Toronto businessmen believe they can duplicate the LA approach.
The cover says OKTO 100. What it's trying to say is that this is a festival, that Toronto can do it, and we're after the 100th anniversary of the Olympic Games.
Like Peter Uberoth, Henderson wants to attract millions of dollars in corporate sponsorships and demand hundreds of millions for the broadcast rights. And like Los Angeles, Toronto is proposing to stage most of the events in existing stadiums and arenas, like Exhibition Park and Maple Leaf Gardens. The opening and closing ceremonies would be held in the new Dome Stadium. It was the immense cost of new facilities that created the $3.5 billion deficit in Montreal.
And I have to be very careful because I represent the government of Canada. I have to be very careful that this is going to be a success and that the Canadian taxpayers aren't going to be hit with some sort of a deficit. I am convinced at this stage that there isn't going to be a deficit, just as there isn't going to be a deficit in Calgary.
The organizers estimate it would cost about $850 million to stage the Summer Olympics. They believe the Games would generate more than $1 billion in revenue. A formal go-ahead from Toronto City Council is expected on Monday. They then must get the approval of the Canadian Olympic Association and the International Olympic Committee. It'll be 1990 before Toronto knows whether its bid is successful. Strong competition is expected from Athens, Greece, but the organizers say it will be North America's turn to hold the Games in 1996. Mark Sickstrom, CTV News, Toronto.
Back in this series. On the gridiron, for the most part, 1986 football season has seen the BC Lions building up a string of victories with the best defense in the CFL and a so-so offense. Well, tonight at BC Place Stadium, with almost 50,000 fans in attendance, the Calgary Stampeders cashed in on costly fumbles and miscues for a solid 30-14 victory. It's the first time that the Stamps have beaten a Western Division opponent this season, and it lets the first-place Leos know that they've got to play better both ways if they want to go all the way.
20, a screen pass to John Henry White. He goes 37 yards. Roy DeWalt fires a 22-yard touchdown pass to John Pankratz. It's 7-0. Stampeders nearly came right back, but Rick Johnson overthrows a wide-open Ray Alexander, 7-3. The next time Calgary had the ball, Johnson lays it out for Jamie Harris. Stampeders TD, they lead 10-7. DeWalt finds Jim Sandusky open. He wasn't caught till he gained 50 yards. DeWalt 7 for 7. Kevan Jenkins scored a touchdown from 3 yards out. Lions were back in front, 14-10. Lions in the shotgun. DeWalt fumbles deep in his own territory. Vince Goldsmith picked it up for an easy touchdown, 17-14 Stamps. Ray Alexander gets deep behind Andre Francis. He was replacing the injured Darnell Clash. Play covered 45 yards. It took the Stampeders 3 cracks from the one. Gary Allen finally going over. 24-14 Calgary at the half. Calgary defense tightened up in the third quarter. Richie Hall made an interception and a fumble recovery. 30-14 the score in the fourth quarter.
And 30-14 was the final count. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Conference, defensive back Les Brown tied a CFL record with 4 interceptions as he led Hamilton to a 28-23 victory over the Montreal Alouettes.
Mike Kerrigan started at quarterback for Hamilton. In the first quarter, he hit Rocky DiPietro for an 11-yard major, 7-0 for the Tiger Cats. Second quarter now, the Ticats are on the Montreal 18. Kerrigan hit Steve Stapler, and he's down to the 1-yard line. Kenny Hobart comes in for the next play, hands off to Walter Bender, who crashes in for a touchdown, 14-0. A key play came in the third quarter. Montreal's Brian Ransom's pass is deflected by Les Brown, and Ben Zambiazzi takes the ball. He hits a snag, laterals it back to Les Brown, and he finishes a 71-yard drive, and it's 21-9 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Late in the game, Mark Stevens plunges in, quarterback sneak, but Hamilton beat the Argos 28-23.
Back-to-school fashion shows and sale prices you won't believe. So wherever you are, shop Woodgrove Center in Nanaimo. Sale ends Sunday.
The Edmonton Eskimos travel to Toronto tomorrow at 4:30 on Channel 6.
Last year, Winnipeg's Willard Reeves gained 200 yards against Ottawa, but the CFL's leading rusher was injured 2 weeks ago against Hamilton, and James Sykes has taken his place. Last Friday in Edmonton, Tom Richards grabbed the Bombers' opening punt and proceeded to gallop 77 yards to a touchdown, sparking an impressive 33-5 Eskimo victory over Winnipeg. And strong Eskimo defense was the story, demonstrated by this Clemens sack for a safety touch. And this truly demonstrates the unpredictability of the CFL.
I think the parity is there. I've said that right at the beginning of the season, that it was going to be a very difficult time in the league this year. I didn't think anybody would really run away with it, either in the East or the West. And I think that things are really bearing that out. And you know, what the heck, in the West, for instance, BC, what are they, 6-2, and Saskatchewan's 3 games. They've won 3 games. There's only 3 games difference between the top and the bottom, and that shows pretty good parity right there.
Coach Murphy is dead right about parity. It's mirrored in the West Division standings. Winnipeg need a victory at home tonight to pull into a 3-way tie for second place. A very interesting interlocking matchup tonight, the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Live from the Winnipeg Stadium in Winnipeg, it's Friday Night Football on CTV. The Ottawa Rough Riders have a dramatic change at the throttle. J.C. Watts is gone, and the mantle has been assumed by Tom Burgess and Todd Dillon. 22-year-old Tom Burgess of Colgate will be the starter tonight. Just last week against the BC Lions, he hit wide receiver Mark Lewis en route to Ottawa's first major score. 24-year-old Todd Dillon has super credentials. This pass to slot back Florindo Grilli picked for 32 yards, and we look forward to seeing the USFL expatriate in tonight's game.
Dillon, as you know, came from the USFL. He's a guy that backed up Kelly, who just signed with Buffalo. He knows the offense and has a good, strong arm. We're very pleased with him.